Never have I ever imagined myself to be torn between two hottest alphas, and most certainly not as their mate. Having two mates is rare, perhaps that's why the she-wolves around me are so jealous to the point that their glares sometimes would turn into threatening stares. The Zane twins, Zuz and Xavier, are complete opposites. The older one, Zuz, is rough in bed and in real life and strict and has a reputation to be ruthless if need be. He's the type to always prioritize his reputation, and he will slay anyone who dares to harm the ones he cared for. Xavier, on the other hand, is wild and bubbly and carefree. He likes role-playing in bed and is also the type to not care what happens tomorrow. What matters for him is the present. He's the more friendly type, and he's more approachable than Zuz. I am Louise Black, an Alpha's daughter. When my father died when I was 7, my wicked uncle took over the pack. Luckily, my mother's best friend, who was a Luna of another pack, took me in. And that's how I met the Zane twins. They are my mother's best friend's sons. Despite the fact they were the dream mates of most of my age, none of them would dare to marry me. They do not like commitment or starting a family, and the word marriage became the one that they both despise the most. However, the next day at my 28th birthday party, the two of them proposed. Well, not to me but to a Beta's daughter, Lucille Clark, right in front of everyone. Right in front of me. And that's not the worst thing that happened that night. I accidentally drank a poisoned wine meant for the alpha of the Blood Ruby pack, the mate and husband of my mother's best friend. This angered the alpha, and the culprit was eventually caught. However, the Zane twins' actions were enough to ignite something within me. After being treated in the pack's hospital, I called my mother, who bizarrely remarried my uncle, and demanded, I'm now agreeing to marry Alpha Zayden Reed of Crystal Tears pack. The next day, as I stepped outside, the crisp autumn wind and chill bit my fingers. It was the lesser things I could worry about. I picked up my phone to answer an incoming call. Where the hell are you, Louise? Zuz's voice is definitely ruthless. I think this is the first time I heard him speak to me like that. Do you really think you can escape your responsibility to apologize by leaving? What? I yelled. What responsibility? Zuz growled, the sound even shook the sleepiness off of me. Get back here and say sorry to Lucille. I groaned. Okay. I cleared my throat and lifted my chin. Tell Lucille I am sorry. I know I'm not often the one to be sarcastic, but I can't help it. Lucille is one hell of a cunning hellcat. But I heard Xavier demanded his brother to give him the phone. Louise, why are you doing this? Lucille said you accused her of poisoning you, of poisoning our father. She told us you, the one who scattered the rumors that it was her. Are you mad to blame an innocent beautiful woman? What are you talking about? I didn't say anything, and I absolutely didn't blame her either. She's the one who's mad to claim that I'm setting her up. Zeus snarled so loud I briefly removed the phone from my ears. Lou, do you know how delicate Lucille is? We have to protect her in all the ways we can. She can't even fucking eat because of you. Xavier claimed the phone again and spurted more of their nonsense that I changed, that I've gone mad, that Lucille was once just like me so I shouldn't threaten her, blah blah blah. To be honest, I know several women are indeed jealous of me for being able to ensnare the Zane brothers for 20 years and keep them for myself, but Lucille's actions are so petty that it's obvious she wants to have what was mine. No matter if she's stealing the twins from me and putting herself as that fragile little virgin dove that all males should look after. Bullshit, was all I replied and put down my phone. Just a few minutes after I hung up, my mother called and asked if my decision last night was final. Of course, mother. I wouldn't just blurt out my decision if I didn't think of it thoroughly. Although my mother claimed she already tamed my uncle, it wasn't enough to interest me to return to the Dark Tide pack. I missed the smell of the sea since my pack is located beside serene waters, the feel of sand beneath my feet, and the cool summer nights. The Reed family has long wanted to build ties with my pack, especially with my mother, as Luna Shea is a Reed. My mother informed me that she had promised my hand to the son and heir of the Alpha of the Crystal Tears pack. My mother still left the choice to me even with that promise. She told me that I am free to break the engagement if I ever wished so. It was the time I still believed in true love and the powers of it. I first met that feeling with the Zane brothers. But seeing my situation now, it seems true love was nothing but an illusion. A fake emotion that they weaved so that I shall remain loyal to them to be their spare time. Amusement. I bet that's what they redoing to Lucille too. Sooner or later, Lucille will be just like me now. As if my thoughts conjured her presence, a notification for my social media appeared on the top of my screen with a picture of her flaunting 2 engagement rings, one with a ruby, and another with an amethyst. I wouldn't deny that I'm jealous because I fucking am. Those 20 years have just been a waste. Wiping the tears from my face, I blocked her. Mom, I mean it. I want to have my own child soon. I texted my mother. During my hospital stay, the doctor told me that this latest incident had significantly weakened my health. I should get pregnant while I'm young and while I can. My time is running out and I wouldn't waste it on Lucille and the Zane twins. Then, a sudden thought struck me. What if those 20 years are never a waste? What if they're a lesson? I looked up at the dull, gray sky. Thunder grumbled in the distance and raindrops started to fall from the heavens. The doctor said it would take about a week to recover fully, and I would use this week to show Zuz and Xavier and Lucille that I can live without them. I glanced at the mirror facing me, and there I saw the innermost part of myself, my lifeless soul. My snow-white face, gaunt and one step closer to my grave. This is the effect of that lethal poison I drank. The head doctor, the head of the Pack's healers, told me that if I was a minute late rushed to the hospital, I would probably be dead by now. I stared at my reflection at myself. This was the girl the Zane twins pampered and showered with affection for 20 years. And now I look as if I was a living ghost. That's what Lucille does. He twisted Zuz and Xavier to just focus on her. The brothers did not even ask me if I was alright after the poisoning incident. They just want me to apologize in her face and treat her like some precious porcelain doll that needs an ample amount of caring. I sighed. I can't do anything now that Lucille has entered our lives. Me going to their mansion and explaining to the Zane twins my side of the story would be as good as handing my head on a platter to them. One bid farewell to Luna Shea Zane, my mother's best friend and the woman one considered as my second mother. She secretly visited me without the knowledge of her husband or sons. I'm sorry about my sons, Lou, she whispered in my ear as she kissed my forehead. They are their father's children. Besides, boys will be boys. She chuckled without amusement, but I didn't return her reaction. I just stared at her with a lifeless gaze and nodded tightly. She's right, my wolf mused. Boys will be boys. The Zane twins are boys. I cracked a smile at that. The Luna caressed my cheeks. There, that's what I love about you, your smile. I beamed at her. I really should go, Luna Shea. Thank you for the 20 years of taking care of me. I was about to turn around when she grabbed my arm gently. You know I always hope that one day you'll be my daughter. My actual daughter. I can see her emotions even with her blink, the movement of her lips, and the swaying of her hair in the passing wind. I know, I whispered and compelled my voice to remain steady. I also hoped for that too. And then I walked away a month ago. I just came back from the hospital after breaking my leg. I fell from the stairs when Lucille surprised me by the foot of the staircase. The taxi stopped right in front of the Zanes. Manzioni may be an Alpha's daughter, but I wasn't trained to be as strong as warriors, or as enduring as healers. The injury left me quite numb, and it worsened when a very cold water soaked me as soon as I got out of the taxi. Lucille exclaimed, the same tone she used when she surprised me, and I fell down the stairs. She was watering the garden with the garden hose, and it was angled right towards me. Even when my teeth chatter that I can barely bellow out her name back, she still dosed me with water until all of me was wet. She only lowered the hose when the twins approached. As the cold morning breeze hit me, I felt a couple of sharp shivers crawling down my spine and into my injured leg. I almost dropped to the ground, but I flattened my palm against a wall, forcing myself not to faint in front of them. Zuz and Xavier exchanged looks, a silent communication going between them. Then, they sneered at me, my body a breath away from the floor, crouching to the wall, one hand as my other hand was on my chest. It seemed you re-putting on an act again as soon as you returned, Louise, Zuz drawled. I didn't hide my glare at them and shot Lucille a stare that can instantly kill. Is that what this woman told you? That my leg injury was just acting? I scoffed. I didn't know you can fake a cry of pain nor an outright injury. There was a bite in my words that Lucille flinched. In a matter of heartbeats, she yielded a pitiful face, again the same face that won her the attention of the Zane twins in just months. Xavier cleared his throat. If you risotto, Louise, why did you come back to this house? He dragged his gaze to Lucille, who's faking another silent cry. Best actress indeed. Oh, her own mother didn't even want her there. Even her alpha uncle, Zuz's mocking voice didn't falter as his tone dripped with sarcasm. Where else would she go but here? Their words pierced so deeply into my heart that I burst into tears. Real tears, not the ones Lucille was compelling her eyes to show right now. Zuz, Xavier, that's enough, she uttered with a trembling voice like a victim showing mercy to her abuser. Even early in the morning, Lucille won't really get tired of stirring up drama. At that moment, the memory of the first time I arrived at the Zane mansion crossed my mind. At that time, Xavier had held my hand and done everything he could to cheer me up. Zuz even caressed my cheek and assured me that their home is free to be my new home too. But then Lucille arrived just 3 months ago. My once glorious paradise that I so adored became my bullying ground and living hell. She was a Beta's daughter who came with her mother under the guise of helping in the household. The Alpha didn't mind it, but Luna. She rolled her eyes at Lucille's sweet smiles and gentle words, as if both of us could see right through Lucille's facade. Looking at their faces now, those 20 years of the Zane mansion being my home has stopped. This has become my prison. Worse, their torturing ground for me. At that moment, I realized my time is up, and I shouldn't waste any more time living here. I should leave as soon as I can. Lucille changed the brothers in just months. At first, I tried to be understanding because I was once in her shoes. After all, she was just helping in the household and seemed inexperienced in doing so. However, when she accidentally smashed the only gift my late father left me right in front of me and the twins, I could not stay silent. I confront her, complete with scolding and yelling. When Lucille began bawling, that was when Zuz pushed me aside with a deep frown on both of their faces. Lucille's life has not been easy, Louise, he snarled. You are just a spoiled princess here. It's just a figurine. Why do you have to make things difficult for someone who's only helping us? Spoiled princess. They re the ones who spoiled me. Pan just a figurine. They very well know the story behind it, that it was the last thing my father was clutching before he breathed his last breath. It was his last and first gift to me. Xavier added, she is younger than you, Louise. You re the adult here, you should show her a little more kindness. As I clutched the pieces of my broken wolf-shaped glass figurine on the floor, the feeling of hopelessness and helplessness struck my heart for the first time in 20 years. Ever since that time, everything has been different. I was no longer the most important female in their lives. Slowly but surely, Lucille took my place as if we were in competition. To be honest, we can just share the mansion, the privilege, and the twins. But Lucille, perhaps who lacked everything since childhood, was devoured by greed the moment she saw opportunity with the Zane family. She established herself as the new focus of the house and shoved me out by the throat. Although this house had given me so many memories I should cherish, it was never truly my home in the end. For 20 years, I just convinced myself it is, but deep down, I know it wasn't. That memory a month ago haunted me. But that memory from a week ago, it stole the life of me. There won't be next time, I once told the Zane twins. Now, I can't believe myself to really make it true. Even when I said goodbye to Luna Shea, a deep part of me still wants to see the Zane mansion for one last time. I told myself last night that there are no things there that I need to pack. Everything was broken and thrown by Lucille anyway. But it's not things that I want to pack. I went to see the home I had for 20 years for one last time. I want to pack my feelings and memories for one last time. Since it had come to this, there was nothing left for me to hold on to. Nothing for me to have a reason to stay. I just want to see it for one last time and leave. However, even as I crawled to the house on silent feet, I saw that all my belongings had been tossed into the hallway like some trash that needs to immediately be taken out. Zeus stood by my room's door, his massive hand holding Lucille's. His eyes stared me down with a cold that could rival the winter winds. Disdain contorted his face as his mouth quivered to the side. Louise, you should know your place. You're nothing more than a freeloader clinging to the Blood Ruby pack and Zane family, so you have no right to look down on Lucy, let alone throw a tantrum at her, he lectured. I arched a brow and didn't bother to put on my wicked self. Lucille has been a freeloader too since 4 months ago, remember? Just because a new pitiful one entered your life, you were going to toss away the female who'd been with you for 20 years. Lucille was standing behind Zuz and I jerked my chin to her. Congratulations, whore. You've done it. I clapped my 2 hands with a sarcastic laugh escaping my lips. I didn't bother to check my attitude in front of the Zane twins. Lucille also has no right to be cruel and scheming in front of the daughter of the Luna of the Dark Tide pack and the niece of its alpha. Xavier bared his teeth at me. You from now on, you'll be staying in the Omega's quarters, Zuz continued, ignoring his brother. Lucille will handle all pack matters as our right-hand beta, and I'm transferring you to do miscellaneous tasks. Don't worry, it's lighter than the Omega's jobs. Once you learn to get along with Lucille, we can talk and maybe reconsider you. Xavier kissed one side of Lucille's cheek. She blushed. I almost vomited on the carpet. Louise Black, Xavier started. If you throw another fit and upset Lucille again, I won't let you off so easily. You 11 find yourself begging for my mercy. I rolled my eyes and Zuz shouted a warning. I ignored all of them. However, now with a plan to leave, I had no time to bicker with them. I shrugged and simply replied, absolutely right, Zuz. Xavier, I'll move out as soon as possible. And don't bother transferring me to the Omega's quarters, I'm leaving the Blood Ruby pack. Zeus sneered, you're still insisting and playing as a victim, huh? Fine. I'll overlook this just once for my mother's sake. However, I expect you to remember your place from now on. Ha! Lucille should be the one to remember her place. She only came here to help, remember. Now she feels as if she's the equivalent of a Luna. If I were Luna Shay, I would behead her immediately in front of you. Good thing your poor mother is kinder than me. I walked past them and glanced at my nails. When I said there won't be a next time, Zuz. I looked each of them in the eye as I breathed. I'm returning to my mother. Now the twins gasped was enough for Taskyle to sprint away from the room. The brothers lingered for a minute and stared down at me as it drinking the last details of my body and presence, and then they too me returning to my mother surprised them enough to shut their mouths. They know the moment I'll leave, there'll be no one for them to pick at to bully at. Closed the door and studied every little detail of the room that has been my solace for 20 years. This time, I really packed my things from my room. That confrontation earlier was enough to pack my memories and feelings. But it didn't take me a long time to finish. There was not much left to pack since Lucille made sure everything was already packed and tossed in the hallway. As I heard the arrival of the car and I looked outside the window. My uncle's beta has come to fetch me. Minutes later, I heard footsteps from outside my room and the sound of my things being hauled away from the hallway. I inhaled and exhaled. My closet was empty save for a few hangers there. For 20 years all my clothes were chosen by Zuz. Back then, he claimed I was the most beautiful and of course, I should dress up pretty every day. Once, I think it was 2 weeks ago, those same pretty clothes Zuz chose for me were soaked in dirty water. They emitted a very foul smell thanks to Lucille Clark. Obviously, the image that I was the princess in his heart had turned into this parasite with a vicious temper. I opened the door slightly when I stepped on something. I looked down and there, photos scattered all over the floor. They were photos of me, my face in every one of those group photos was crossed out with a red pen. My wolf whimpered inside me and I sent a quick prayer to the moon goddess above. I did not have the heart to look at those pictures anymore, so I threw everything straight into the trash. While I was doing this, a wind sent the door gaping wide and Zuz happened to walk past my room with Lucille. They both saw this unpleasant scene. There was a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, and a bit of sadness. After all, I used to treasure everything that he gave me. Zuz was always the male I dreamed of, the mate I dreamed to have. But they both rejected me when Lucille came, and the pain was unbearable that I couldn't sleep, or eat, or rest for weeks. 2 mating bonds snapping at once I could have gone crazy, Luna Shay once told me. But she was the reason I didn't. His shock and sorrow quickly dissipated. You sure don't mind destroying Thepak's property and wasting our money, he barked. I looked up at Zuz and this was clearly no longer the male who spent extravagantly just to make me happy. Now that Lucille was by his side, everything I did was wrong. Everything I am is wrong. I didn't have the energy to argue so I just shrugged my shoulders. I'll pay you back. Whatever. That amount of money is useless to us anyway. Just don't trouble Lucille again. Lucille pulled Zuz's sleeve gently with a pout on her face. Zuz, don't waste your time with unimportant people like her. She's nothing but a black moon now. Come on. Hearing this, I stopped. Her words made my breath catched. Back then, Luna Shay was busy with her responsibility so she had given Zuz, Herald's son, the responsibility of looking after me. Zuz tried to give me the best of everything that he could. He even revealed to me that I was the brightest moon of his life. So he designed a treehouse on top of the tallest tree in the pack where we can watch the endless sprawl of stars every time there was a clear night sky. One night, as he looked at me under the stars, his eyes were filled with warmth and affection. Louise, remember that this sky is just for you, just like my love is only for you. Those 20 years under the starry sky together, turning it into a dreamlike haven, is enough for me to consider that I would marry Zuz, and we'll have a lavish mating ceremony. Since then, my heart has always leaned towards Zane, the eldest son of Luna Shay, and possible heir to the alpha of the Blood Ruby pack. But looking at those raging eyes that were once filled with love for me, I shook my head. The Zane twins have this new rose to admire, and now have chosen to forget me, the dimming moon. The black moon. It's alright, my wolf assured me. Of course, it was fine because it did not matter to me anymore. Their rejection created a new version of me, one that no longer believes in love and kindness. One that no longer sees those 20 years of memories to cherish, but rather a series of lifelong lessons. I took a deep breath and turned to leave. In the end, I did not want either of them anymore. Suddenly, Lucille grabbed my wrist. Her grip was so tight that it almost crushed my bones. Why are you always looking down on me? Feeling the unbearable pain shooting through my hand, I flung her hand off as hard as I could instinctively. Lucille fell on the floor swiftly and smoothly. "Help!" Zuz, though he barely caught her, panicked and held her close. Before I could react, his hand flew across my face, sending me crashing to my bed. Xavier stormed in and shouted my name. "Why are you always picking on Lucille, Louise? If it weren't for us, you would be a homeless orphan and probably be feasted by the rogues by now. You didn't even show us gratitude, but you hurt us with your cruelty. You truly are your father's daughter," Zuz added, his murmurs more painful than Xavier's. And the mention of my father made my hand slap both of their faces. Don't ever talk about my father. This was the first time in my life that I had been hit, and I also hit back. That instant, my entire world that revolved around them crumbled into pieces. His face froze slightly as he looked at me from head to toe, as if he just realized he had gone too far. He let go of Lucille, and she fell to the floor with a thud. "Are you all right, Lou?" "I'm sorry, I'm fine. I don't blame you," I retorted as I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. The hands Zuz slapped me with one big iron ring at that same time was the reason blood trickled down my nose. I did not blame him or either of them because I took that slap as a repayment for everything that his family had given me all these years. And as if my thoughts conjured her, Luna Shea appeared. All three of them trembled. What happened here? And what happened to Louise? None of them answered, and all of them just lowered their heads. I just shook my head and whispered to the Luna that my mother is waiting for me. From this time forward, the Zane twins and I were even. There was no debt to settle between us anymore. No more. However, Xavier brazenly blocked my way. "You not leaving before you apologize to Lucille." At the uttering of those words, Luna Shea instead grabbed Lucille's hair and demanded, "What did you do this time that resulted in an alpha's daughter having blood in her face?" Xavier tried to stop her mother, but my mother's best friend only slapped him. "You two always made beautiful women as your weakness. Just because this pretty bitch is manipulating you, doesn't mean I'll also allow her malice to spread in this pack." She called for 2 betas and demanded Lucille be thrown into dungeons. Zuz and Xavier protested vehemently, but the twins have no power with their mother present. Xavier shot me a look that says, "You turned our own mother against us." The wrath in his face was nothing like the brother who once followed me around, calling me sister in a gentle voice. However, I knew what he was capable of. What both of them were capable of. Once, there was a rogue who tried to abduct me, knowing that I am an Alpha's daughter and an Alpha's niece. Xavier was the first to see me. He easily overpowered the rogue. Zuz took care of what remains of that rogue. Both of them worked on him that, because of what happened, no single rogue plagued the Blood Ruby pack for years. I could never imagine that one day, they would use that same cruelty against me, all for a conniving bitch like Lucille. The smugness on Lucille's face as she was carried away is enough to ignore my blood roaring in my head. I swallowed down all the words inside of me that could send Lucille to her downfall. I shook my head as I turned to leave, leaving behind the things that were still in my room. My uncle's beta appeared in the doorway. Even Lucille gasped at his size that was bigger than the twins combined. My uncle's beta Richard, also worked for my father before he passed, so he definitely knew who I was and what I was. I didn't say anything as I strode past the 3 of them. I had nothing to fear. I have nothing to hide, unlike Lucille. Even without them forcing me out, I was already ready to leave, even with a broken heart and a wounded Sully. No, even when I was 2 steps to the car, Xavier was still seething in Louise. I knew it was Zuz calling me from behind. I faced him, Luna Shea still scolding Xavier as I lifted my gaze to my room's windows. "I've overreacted earlier. I'm sorry for the slap." Zuz was always the one closer to me, and seeing him, he somehow found himself being guilty for hitting me. "Don't take it to heart. Please. When I get back, I'll bring you your favorite peanut butter ice cream. However, I have one condition. Please promise not to make things difficult for Lucille anymore. Consider her as your sister." We begged our mother to talk to her properly and not send her to the dungeons. That's touching, Zuz, but you definitely forgot everything now. You and Xavier. About what? I inhaled a sharp breath. I'm allergic to peanuts. And I almost died months ago because Lucille handed it to me on her first night in this mansion. Zuz gasped and looked away, massaging his forehead. A cold chill surged through me as a cold wind brushed my cheeks. Beta Richard cleared his throat from his seat, a signal for me to now get in. I held the door open. As I was about to get inside the car, Zuz shouted, "Why do you hate Lucille so much?" I immediately stopped. "Why do you hate me so much?" I shrieked back. "I loved you and you alone, Zuz." But he turned away to where Xavier is now wrapping his arm across Lucille's shoulders. Luna Shea looked at me from the window and shook her head. Even she can't contain her own sons. I could not take it anymore as the last bit of strength left me and I collapsed directly into the mud. Beta Richard got out of the driver's seat and rushed to help me. After struggling to stand, I managed to climb up to the car. "Take me to the Dark Tide Pack's hospital," was my only command when we started to drive away, the Zane's mansion getting smaller and smaller in the distance. Perhaps Zuz never loved me. Maybe Xavier never treated me as her sister. All they see of me, of us including Lucille, is just a meek helpless wolf they took in so that they can have someone to take care of. And way they grow bored and tired, they'll find new ones they can groom. And I bet it will only be a matter of time when Lucille's time is up and the Zane twins will bring a new she-wolf for them to take care of. Good thing I left as early as I could, because there will also come a time that Lucille will be a Louise. And that time, I will have the ultimate laugh right in front of her mud-splattered face. "You did what?" Seeing the pitiful state I was in, the Pack Hospital's head doctor was angry and could not stop herself from scolding me harshly. "You just got out of the hospital, but you managed to get yourself into this state in a matter of time already. Do you even realize the condition of your health? You Re and Alpha's daughter. You should bear a child as soon as possible." I did not dare to argue with my doctor, so I obediently stayed in the hospital for a few days of observation. I called my mother that I was admitted here in the Pack Hospital and that she shouldn't be worried. Although a day later, she visited me physically along with my alpha uncle. Mother did really change my uncle and somewhat tamed him for all those years I'm gone. Once my fever finally vanished, I was released. And Luna Shea visited me. I knew that I had lost a lot of time because of this health of mine, so I'm trying to make it up by moving forward with my plans, I told her. With a bitter laugh, I tossed that part of me that urged me to call Zuz and Xavier that I was hospitalized after that incident with Zuz hitting me. But I realized I shouldn't be worried sick thinking about how to explain why I was in the Pack Hospital to them. They don't care if I was alive or not. "Can't you really convince the Alpha to let Lucille and her mother leave?" She shook her head. "Even Lucille's mother is worming her way to my mate's attention. Like mother, like daughter after all. You aren't the only one bombarded with worries, Lou." Her eyes turned red when she scanned me from head to toe. "Why are you getting thinner now? I heard about your engagement with the Crystal Tears Pack's new Alpha. He's a good male, better than my bewitched sons." She coughed at that as if she too hated Lucille's presence in the Zane's mansion. "My dear child, I hate to see you go. I'll visit you whenever I can." Her tears started to fall and I caressed her cheeks. "Thank you for taking care of me all these years. It's my fault you like this. I was too busy with work and didn't take better care of you," she sighed. "I even foolishly hoped you could be my daughter-in-law, but now those stupid boys don't deserve you." I know how many times Luna Shea and I cried in each other's arms and hugged, saying goodbye to each other for several times. They were never enough. Sometimes, I can feel my own mother Waskit jealous of us too, but she just smiled her feelings away. They definitely are. Best friends in all aspects the word can be. "I won't be able to attend your wedding, but I genuinely hope I'll be happy." I didn't hold back my tears as I hugged Luna Shea. In all my years with the Blood Ruby Pack, she had treated me like her own daughter. I did really love him, Luna. She knows who I meant. But he chose them, he chose her. The way Zuz turned away from me marked my heart forever. Perhaps it was only me convincing myself that I was loved, that I was taken care of. Someone cleared his throat. And there, by my hospital room's door, Zuz and Xavier stood. Lucille was arching her brows. "Father called for you, mother," Zuz coldly said to Luna Shea. I looked at each of the brothers' faces. I just ignored Lucille even when she's trying hard to seek attention from the Luna. Xavier's face darkened. "Are you feeding lies to the Luna of the Blood Ruby Pack again, Louise?" "Shut up, Xavier. It's not the way you should talk to the female who'd been your sister for 20 years until that bitch arrived." She jerked her chin at Lucille. Lucille flinched. Zuz stepped in front of her, as if to protect her from their own mother. "And me." "Bullshit." Xavier rushed to the Luna's side and said, "Mother, don't believe anything that Louise says. Lucille said she's even the one who tried to poison our father, and she just acted as if she's the one who drunk it to save face." "Shut up." The Luna slapped him. Lucille, who was hiding behind Zuz, smirked at Luna Shea. My mother's best friend glared at her. Zuz calmly added, "Even though Lucille comes from a poor beta family, she was independent and strong. She will not hastily agree to a marriage proposal just because she covets the family's wealth. Louise, on the other hand, had been spoiled by us and she only knows how to bully others and stir up trouble out of jealousy." He tossed his brother a look. "It's my fault for what's happening now." Luna Shea scoffed. "I don't think so, son. This was all happening because your father, both of you, accepted that woman along with her mother. They both are mysterious. Who knows? They're both assassins sent to poison the blood ruby pack from within. Lucille stepped back, but Zuz grabbed her wrist. Mother, he warned. The Luna finally exploded with anger. You two scoundrels, take that woman with you and get out. After they left, I spent a long time soothing the Luna and helping her calm down until she finally let me go with tearful goodbyes and wish wells. Don't worry. I will always be right here to support you. You re the daughter I never had. Then the Luna and I hugged before her alpha called for her. I grabbed my things and we parted ways. I left with her final warmth as a swirl of emotions clouded my eyes. On my way down, as soon as the elevator opened on the ground floor, the trio ambushed me. Xavier punched me and Lucille slapped me. Even just being discharged from the hospital, they didn't hesitate to hurt me. Zuz only watched as Xavier and Lucille beat me. UPI managed to look up after a few minutes of their physical abuse. Despite the pain on my body, I shrieked and cursed at Lucille. Why can you just leave me alone, Louise? You re-destroying my plans. Worse, you even came to complain and slander me to the Luna. Are you that bitter that you willing to destroy me? Zuz's blank expression just watched us. I know what you are, Lucille. You and your mother. One day, your plans will be revealed and all three of you will regret what you did to me. Even though I didn't know what I am saying, somehow Lucille became immensely scared. Which means she's definitely hiding something, my wolf growled. Slowly, Lucille backed a step until she turned around and sprinted away. Only the twins remained and the elevator doors are opening and closing. Xavier dragged me out and dropped me right in front of Zuz. Apologize to us now. I had thought they would finally let me leave, but they still refused to let me go. I could not stand it anymore and yelled, never. The word barely left my lips when Xavier lifted his leg and stomped on my injured leg. Pain exploded and seared through my body as if my bones were about to crack and my blood were about to boil. One day, you and your brother will be crawling to me while asking for my forgiveness. I hissed. Xavier only chuckled. Remember this, Louise. This is the price of hurting Lucille. Unlike my older brother, I will not indulge in your temper and bullying anymore. And what do you call this? I snarled at the younger Zane twin. You re the one bullying me. You re the one abusing me. Can't you see? Lucille is just manipulating both of you. Where did she even go? Xavier blinked as if realizing what he just did. Louise, but Zuz dragged him away and I was left there on the floor, bleeding, groaning and whimpering. The elevator doors behind me opened and closed. As I curled up on the ground and pain blocked my thoughts, there was one thing that lingered in my consciousness. My debts to the twins had finally paid off. 20 years of sharing everything, through storm and sunshine, through sickness and health, and 20 years of love as childhood sweethearts. I owed them nothing anymore. And as I screamed for help, I know this is the time I will avenge myself. Miss, are you all right? A kind passerby found me and rushed me to the emergency room despite still being in the hospital's premises. After confirming that there were not any major injuries on my body, I hopped on the car Beta Richards was driving, ignoring the throbbing pain in my swollen ankle. I refused to look back. The Beta repeatedly asked for my forgiveness for not being there to protect me. The incident reached the Alpha and Luna of the Blood Ruby pack, and my uncle declared a cold war between the two packs. The next day, the news of my marriage to the Alpha of the Crystal Tears pack became the top trending topic on all of the packs. After 20 years, I now returned to the house I was born in. My uncle was dead worried about me and even told my mother that we should avenge me by attacking their pack. After all, Alpha of the Blood Ruby pack still has debts unpaid to the Dark Tide pack. My mother begged him to leave the pack untouched as Luna Shea was there too. Looking at me and my mother, my uncle eventually calmed down and we both had a family hug. After lunch, I received a message from Xavier. I didn't know how he got my number. Are you running away from us again? Fine. I forgive you. Get your ass back here. Lucille needs someone to wash her clothes. While the words Zuz sent me were, Louise, where are you? Why does the fiancé of the Alpha of the Crystal Tears pack have the same name as you? After I read both of their messages, I turned to look at my mother and uncle flirting on the dining table. I didn't think twice to block the twins' numbers. My mother looked at me with concern in her eyes when I bit my lip in dismay. She sighed. Tell me, how did you get into this mess? I could not bring myself to tell my mother what had happened to me at the Zane family and Lucille. Living as a guest in someone else's house was not the hardest part. And yes, sometimes it feels like I'm some prisoner. Like I'm some collateral. But the hardest thing was the soul-shattering heartache when falling from the peak to the rock bottom upon Lucille's arrival. She quickly ensnared the twins and held them on her leash. It'll be okay, Mom. It'll get better. My mother reached for my hand. One day, your scars on your body would finally heal, and all the rights or wrongs, the grudges and heartaches would fade away too. It would be best to throw them all behind you and embrace the new beginning with all your heart. I just nodded, even though deep down, I know it's difficult to do. The next day, Mother and I visited the Crystal Tears pack. The pack elder and the Alpha's grandmother came to greet us. My heart was pounding with anxiousness, but the moment I saw Grandma Reed, I felt a total calmness. Everything about her whispered kindness and softness and gentleness. When she saw me, her smile broadened. She kissed my cheek lightly. My lovely granddaughter-in-law. Finally, we met. All these years, I've been telling your mother to bring you to me more often so I could see you. Yet, she's kept you hidden like a precious secret treasure. She is a treasure, my mother purred. Oh, I know, you'll be an exquisite Luna. She turned to me and couldn't stop admiring everything about me. I smiled politely in return. My health has never been good, so I stayed in the Blood Ruby pack for a while to recover. Grandma Reed waved an idle hand. It's okay. Once you and the Alpha are married, Zayden will make sure you get proper medical care. He left for a pack business right now, so I'm afraid he will be late for a few hours. Don't worry, after the wedding, he'll make it up to you. Worry about giving me my grandchildren as early as I'm alive. My mother and Grandma Reed laughed, but I just smiled sheepishly. Come to think of it, I hadn't even met my future husband and fiancé yet. But he did not show up that day. However, when my mother and I were about to leave the pack the next day, after a day of reverie and delicious meals and pleasant laughter, Alpha Zayden Reed showed up on the pack mansion's doorstep. And my surprise cannot be painted. He was the kind passerby who took me to the emergency room when the Zane twins and Lucille ambushed me in the elevator. I smiled and exhaled. This will be the start of my tale of revenge. I'll be marrying the richest and strongest Alpha. Even Beta Richard blinked when he saw my fiancé, and a flash of fear crossed his face. Zayden and I stared at each other's souls. My wolf howled in joy and whispered, "Mate, mate." Zayden choked on the word and rushed to lift me up in the air and hug me so tight I cried. I was rejected by twins, only to be mated to the strongest Alpha. And with that, I remembered the time the mating bond snapped between me and Zuz and Xavier. It was that time when Zuz confessed to me that he loved me. Xavier also became very protective of me since then, but with Lucille's manipulations, "We reject you, Louise Black. We, Zuz and Xavier Zane, reject you." The pain from the rejection lasted for weeks, even for a month. And then Lucille pushed me off the stairs and the pain worsened as if my soul would now gladly leave my body despite it still breathing. "Will you marry me?" What the fuck? Zayden let go of me, only to kneel and ask for my hand in marriage. My uncle arrived and my mother and Grandma Reed squealed in excitement. My uncle and Beta Richard just clapped. "Of course, yes." I fanned myself and jumped in delight. "Yes, Zayden Reed. I'll marry you." The crystal and diamond ring was quite heavy as he slid it on my finger. My eyes reddened as tears escaped my eyes. "Louise, please don't cry. The moment I saw you in the hospital, I knew you were my mate. You meant to be mine." Grandma Reed patted my shoulder. "I promise, in the Crystal Tears pack you will never be wronged. Unlike that pack where you grow up." My uncle's smile vanished. He knew what pack she meant. My uncle definitely wishes to punish the Zane twins, but me and my mother just blocked his way. "If we counter with violence, that will make us no different from them," my mother pleaded. Zayden looked a bit like Zuz, and my heart ached at the resemblance. "Let's get married," he whispered in my ears. Our departure from the pack became a month-long stay. Zayden showered me with gifts, and day by day, my skin brightened. I was no longer pale and gaunt. I was no longer sickly and thin. I'm now blooming with health and surrounded by joyful people. Every gift from Zayden and his pack is a rare treasure of enormous value. They all showed me utmost respect and affection as if I'm already their Luna. Zayden, every morning, kisses my forehead. He's the sweetest male I ever met aside from my father. Though I heard he's ruthless to his enemies and even to those who breathed the wrong way to the ones he loved. They said I'm only allowed to live with Mom until the wedding. Zayden and I, upon marriage, should be given enough time to develop our relationship. Gradual life pack home for the Alpha and Luna is all set, reported one Beta. You two handle things your way. We, your pack elders, won't interfere. Grandma Reed winked at me. Just remember, if my flower-loving grandson ever dares to mistreat you, don't be shy to come and tell me. Zayden laughed beside me. Thank you, Grandma Reed, I breathed. Both of our packs, the Dark Tide pack and the Crystal Tears pack, were busy with the wedding. But I was worried that I would feel nostalgic over my departure from the Zane family or regret about the past after leaving the Blood Ruby pack so suddenly. However, with constant dress fittings and diamond wedding ring selections, I was so busy that I collapsed into bed each night. I was too exhausted to think about anything else. Zayden would constantly mind-link me if it were alright, if I were safe, if I was enjoying myself. I all replied with a yes and a chuckle of joy. Day by day, I began to let go of those people and memories from the past. From Zeus to Xavier to Lucille, I let them go. But fate has more plans. One day, while trying on wedding dresses, I received a call from Luna Shea. "Louise," she started, her voice a bit hoarse. "When Zeus and Xavier heard that you're really getting married, they insisted on seeing you. I tried to stop those two knuckleheads, but they were probably almost there by now. Just ignore them and carry on with what you're redoing. Call your guards and betas if they ever show up." Hearing their names made me pause and swallow. But before I could even hang up, I saw their reflections in the mirror. I gasped and shot right to my feet. I was alone in the room as the Omegas tending to me went out for a while. They were staring right at my soul, at my off-shoulder dress. Their eyes were oozing with an array of emotions I couldn't comprehend. There was shock, admiration, and regret in them. "What are you two doing here?" I didn't soften my tone. I faced them like how a Luna faces two rogues. "Louise, are you really getting married?" I chuckled softly as I crossed my arms. "Yes." "And do you regret choosing Lucille over me now?" "Yes." "No." The twins looked at each other for their different responses. Zeus' gaze softened but Xavier remained hardened. "Get out. Please," I ordered. Zeus' voice trembled slightly. "Louise, please answer us." It was very much like how his voice was when he confessed to me years ago. Back then, he had said in that same romantic tone, "Louise, my greatest wish in life is to marry you as my mate. I'll do everything I can to show you my heart, how genuine I am. But you said your career and reputation always comes first," I once asked him back. He shook his head as if nothing else mattered to him but me. "No matter how long it takes, I don't mind waiting for you." However, after all these years, I think those words were just hollow. No truth resonated in them. Xavier Zane growled, and it pulled me back to the present. "Louise, quit the act. There's no way you actually marrying someone else. Look at yourself." He assessed my curvy body, the plumpness of my lips, and the glint in my eyes. "You are a sickly girl from a broken family. Why would the Crystal Tears pack want you? You just playing another trick to get our attention, but I'm not falling for it." He threw a knowing look at his brother. "Not anymore." Even though he said that, his eyes reddened and sorrow lined his eyes with silver. "They both know how stunning I look. How my beauty surpassed those times I was in their walls." A memory suddenly crossed my mind. When we were children, we once did a role play where I wore a pretty white dress I borrowed from Luna Shea pretending to be the bride, while the twins fought over who got to be the groom. In the end, Xavier lost to his brother and bawled. His red eyes were brimming with tears, just like he did right now. It seemed everything had not changed. And yet, everything was entirely different. It seems fate likes to mirror memories back into reality. I lowered my gaze to avoid their tearful eyes. "You two should leave. My uncle has already declared a cold war to your father's pack. But for Luna Shea's sake, I won't let my guards throw you out." Zeus stared at me, shocked at the dismissal. "Our father beat us when he found out Lucille, and us beat you. She hasn't come home since. We still don't know where she is. She's not answering our calls or messages." Zeus tossed a look to Xavier, to which the latter quickly averted. "Most especially me. I was the one punished by my father the most since I'm the eldest, and yet I didn't do anything to keep it from happening." Xavier whispered and yielded one step towards me. I stepped back. "How's your injury?" He swallowed. "How are you?" Zeus rushed to me and shook my shoulders. "Louise, stop this nonsense. Marriage isn't a game. Have you really thought this through?" His voice softened, almost pleading. "We have been together for 20 years, but you've never agreed to marry me. So why are you suddenly marrying a complete stranger?" "He's not a stranger," I hissed. "Alpha Zayden Reed is my second chance mate." "Second chance?" Xavier gaped. "You both rejected me, remember? You both shattered the mating bond that binds us along with the friendship we had for 2 decades. Without changing the calmness in my voice, I continued, "I didn't do all of these on a whim. Every choice I made, I had thought it through, and through including leaving you." I wiped. The tears that I didn't know already fell from my face. "My doctor also told me if I don't marry soon, I might never have children." I can't deny the feelings I once felt for them resurfaced. Seeing their pitiful faces now, it seems my revenge has worked. They finally saw me for who I am, and what I was. We've waited to marry you for 20 years. Xavier shrieked. "And I didn't." They both blinked. Looking back, they thought they were the only ones who had been waiting for 20 years. However, had I not been waiting for them for the same amount of time? For years, I had really believed that the three of us were inseparable, that I would one day marry one of the Zane brothers and our packs would become reunited. However, with Lucille's arrival, it just made the gap between the Dark Tide pack and the Blood Ruby pack wider and worse. My uncle was still keen to punish the twins. Before me. Go, I said again. My uncle will have your heads if they found out you two are here. But they didn't turn around, and I finally understood that not all childhood promises would withstand the arrival of someone new. First love never dies, but it can fade, like how winter melts away with the arrival of spring. My love for you is gone, so there's nothing to hold on to. The twins knew to whom I directed those words. Zeus stomped his foot and looked at me with his defeated, wounded eyes. Why does it have to be him? If you wanted to get married, if you wanted to have a child, you could have come to me. And for what? I bared my teeth at him. You'll choose Lucille anyway. I turned around and I met my own gaze in the mirror. The wedding dress was adorned with radiant diamonds and crystals. It looked exactly as I had once imagined as a child that I would die to wear. I turned my gaze to the Zane brothers and gave them a small smile. Why not him? He is the only one who chose me without hesitation. He's the only one who saw me for who and what I am, not for my beauty, or because I'm an Alpha's niece, but because I am Louise Black. I am who I am. Xavier kneeled down before me and reached for my hand. Please, don't leave us, Louise. Zeus kneeled down beside his brother too. I don't know if I should laugh or scream at them or call my uncle to remove them from my sight. Perhaps all of those. I was around 16 when Grandma Reed, her son who was still the Alpha, sent me a letter that my mother agreed to a marriage alliance. After all, it was the Crystal Tears pack who helped my mother and our pack when my father suddenly died of a heart attack. I replied and told her I cannot leave the Zane twins behind. They are my lifeblood, my world, my home. I told her I will fulfill my dream of marrying for love even if her grandson happened to be my mate. The pack elder told me earlier that Zayden found out about my answer. Still, he was willing to wait for me despite other pack alphas offering their sisters and daughters and nieces for his hand in marriage. I don't know why. I never managed to ask Zayden yet. Maybe he did it out of respect for his grandmother, maybe it was good for the pack, or maybe it was fate. But whatever his real reason was, he was the only one who consistently, without wavering, chose me. From the beginning to the end, he only picked me, I told them. Unlike both of you who only chose me at first but eventually changed when Lucille came. Xavier stood and scoffed. So this is where it all came down then, you married him because you're jealous of Lucille. It's not my jealousy, I growled. It's her who's jealous. Zeus stood from where he's kneeling too. We've known each other for 20 years, Louise. Lucille could never replace you. You should already know that there will always be a place for you to take at the Zane family's table. Zeus was in deep thoughts. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed my hand, and I staggered back. Don't ruin your life just because you're angry, Lou. Come home. With us. Let me explain everything to my father so we can clear this up. As soon as the words fell from his mouth, he went flying to the other side of the room. Xavier whirled around and was thrown across his brother before he could say anything. Before I could react to his swift kicking of Zeus and punching of Xavier, I felt someone's arm wrap around me and pulled me close. A soft scent of rosewood and lilac drifted over me and calmed my raging heart. That's for beating my mate in your pack's hospital, he snarled, the sound shaking the ground. The twins knew they cannot contend with an alpha. Although their father hasn't yet informed which of them is the heir to their father's title, they are still weaker than Zayden. Zayden faced me again. He was more handsome than the last time I saw him. He looked happier and more glowing too. The Luna of the Crystal Tears pack doesn't need to entertain leftovers from a Beta's daughter, he said with a low and vicious voice. And by Beta's daughter he meant Lucille. Zayden squeezed my hand as if to ask if I was alright. I tightened my grip on him as I looked at the Zane twins. Did you hear him? I have my own family now, my own life. My world no longer revolves around yours, nor waiting for whatever leftovers you decide to offer. I looked at Zeus, whose back seemed to crack at my mate's kick earlier. I'm not doing this because I'm angry. I really want to spend the rest of my life with him. There was a time I questioned why it was so easy for someone else to come into Thepixure and snatch the first place that previously belonged to another. However, I came to realize that the person who really loved you would never let you go and wait for him forever. Those 20 years taught me several things. It has become a 2-decade long of memories, of heartaches, of lessons. Xavier and Zeus were willing to abandon me, the girl they had known for 20 years, for Lucille, the girl they had known for barely 2 or 3 months. Their eyes widened as if they just realized how much of a fool they are. How Lucille fooled them and manipulated them. I don't have to cling to the past when I can welcome the present with wide open arms. As soon as Zayden heard my words, he smiled and slid a huge dazzling diamond ring onto my hand. It was even bigger than the ones that the Zane brothers gave Lucille. Even if the two were combined, its sparkle was bright enough to dim the light of the blood ruby pack's heirs. I can taste the regret and smell the pain on their faces. Xavier barked, "Louise, are you really throwing away 20 years of relationship just for the Reed family's power and wealth? I never thought you were so materialistic and easily tempted." I laughed. Tempted? I waved a hand to myself. "Perhaps you should know that word first applied to both of you." "Louise," Zuz begged. I jerked my chin to him. "I never care about wealth or status. All I ever wanted was true love. But what did I just get? A harsh slap from you and a brutal beating from Xavier that almost broke my already injured leg." They did not even have an inkling that the Black family had made a comeback. That my uncle and my mother and me are reunited and the Dark Tide pack is back in the game. They did not know that my mother had paid back every cent the Zane family had spent on me and even talked to their alpha. They did not realize that all the debt between us had long been settled. "We owe them nothing anymore," my wolf mused. Ever since Lucille whisked them away from me, Zuz and Xavier knew the consequences of throwing all their attention to her, while they were treating me like I was still a helpless and fatherless girl, a freeloader. Everybody knew what malice they've done. Apparently, Grandma Reed and Zayden have a spy on the Zane mansion, so they definitely knew all the verbal, emotional, and physical abuse I'm going through. But now with Zayden by my side, I did not have to bear it any longer. I ordered the Alpha's guards to drag the Zane twins out. My uncle even appeared, tossing a smirk to the twins. "Louise, you can't do this to us," Xavier bellowed. But I smirked. I have long wanted to smirk down at them. "Oh, I already did." Xavier tried to struggle. But even with the fact he could deliver a lethal blow towards a woman who had just come out of the hospital like me, he was no match for these strong Alpha's guards. My uncle punched him once, but the Zane brother only spit blood on the shoes of the Alpha of the Dark Tide pack. When he realized he could not break free, he started to insult me instead. "Louise, I don't believe you to be this heartless like how Lucille described you to be. You still have feelings for me, don't you?" Then he turned to Zayden and laughed mirthlessly at his face. "You are an Alpha, but you're willing to marry a woman like her who'd been probably fucked by twins several times. I doubt you two will be happy in the future. If she can cheat on us, she can cheat on you too." My uncle stopped my mate from sending. Compared to the selfish and disloyal Zane brothers, Zayden was truly a loyal gentleman. He was a calm and steady Alpha. No wonder why so many packs want an alliance with him. It was also no wonder my mother kept urging me to agree to this marriage. I reached up to kiss his elegant cheek once. He giggled, "Is that all?" I then rose on my toes and kissed him softly on the lips. The kiss was gentle and kind, but I can feel the love brimming with our entangled mouths. I realized then that true love doesn't require 20 years of waiting. When the right person came along, marriage and children all fell into place naturally, as if fate's plans were all but a puzzle slowly clicking into place. No need for endless waiting. "I have no regrets, Zayden," I whispered, "and no need to dwell on missed chances. I don't regret any of my choices." "None." He raised a brow and gave me a seductive smile. His hand from the back of my hips rose slowly until he managed to unhook my bra with one hand. I smiled. "Right now, I can't wait for us to have a child." It was his signal to me, and then we both landed on the carpet with him on top of me. When we were both naked, Zayden took a time to stare at my face and at my body. "I love you." Our wolves howled together, in joy and in excitement. I didn't say it back. He froze, but I knew my deep kiss was an answer enough. A day before the wedding ceremony, Luna Shea showed up, and she came bearing news. I knew my hunch about Lucille and her mother. "They're rogues." I dropped my spoon as soon as she blurted. We were having breakfast when my mother's best friend rushed to me. My mother calmed her down and urged her to talk slowly. "Well, Lucille is the secret daughter of a beta and a rogue. She was also the one who tried to poison my husband on your birthday party." Luna Shea's voice trembled. "But of course it was you who drank it instead. That's why she blamed it on you." I swallowed. How did you find out about this?" "She tried to seduce another Alpha's son on another pack. Unfortunately, the Alpha's daughter discovered her before she could give the poison drink to the Alpha. Lucille is now condemned in the Scarlet Moon Pack's dungeons." "Good gracious," was all my mother murmured. I leaned back on my chair, incredulous to the truth unraveled before me. Originally, the Reed family had planned to hold the Zane twins accountable for the incident at the bridal boutique where they confronted me. But then my mother, for Luna Shea's sake, intervened. The Luna, however, made sure her sons would never bother me again. And do they know about her? The Luna nodded. Of course she knew who I'm referring to. Lucille's mother is one of my mate's most trusted betas, and she tried to beg my mate to rescue Lucille. She confessed everything right in front of him. But of course, why would you save the murderer who attempted to murder you from punishment? And it was my uncle who spoke. The beta tried to stab him in the back, but he caught her before she could even grab the knife. They fought and Lucille's mother was injured fatally. I gasped. I shook my head. I can hardly breathe. What about the twins? As if my words summoned them, Luna Shay's sons knocked down the guards and rushed to me. Louise, please forgive us. It was Xavier who spoke first. I did not know how the twins found out where we were dining. Zayden stood, but Luna Shay urged him to just sit and let me handle it. Louise, I was wrong, we were wrong. Zuz closed the distance between us even when he's kneeling on the floor. Please, forgive us. We shouldn't have been so foolish to just let Lucille compete with you. I shouldn't have ruined your life because of us. Their tearful confession is indeed moving. However, my fury was unmatched. Please, he begged me while holding my leg. Forgive us. Come back to us. Xavier was still kneeling too when he reached for my hand. Please, Lou. Luna Shay ordered her sons to come to their senses. Xavier, Zuz. But when they didn't listen to their own mother, the Luna commanded Alpha Zayden to call his guards to drag them away. We followed Luna Shay and her dragged away sons to their car. Zayden, who was silent the entire time, looked at Zuz as if he was looking at a piece of trash. I spoke. I forgive you and Xavier. But I will never forget. As soon as I finished, my mate took my hand and whispered calmly, let's go home, love. Anything related to the Zane brothers has become unworthy of my attention, so when I took a few steps, I suddenly felt dizzy. Louise? Are you all right? No, the world went dark and I collapsed into Zayden's arm even before I could answer. When I finally woke up, almost everyone from my pack and Zayden's pack had gathered here. Grandma Reed's face beamed with a big happy smile. This is a double blessing. I knew you were always a lucky one, Louise. You are carrying a child. I'm pregnant. I immediately sat up, but my doctor, who I didn't notice was among the ones gathered in my room, urged me to remain lying on the bed. My mother exclaimed, I can't wait for the wedding party and the party for the Luna's pregnancy announcement. I scowled. There's a party for that? My uncle rubbed my back with a chuckle. You know your mother celebrates almost everything. I met Zayden's tender gaze as he kissed me once on the lips. Then as the realization dawned on me that I was carrying a baby, I touched my stomach. My health has really become blooming as ever. There was a new life growing inside of me. 12-year-old me would be so proud at the dream that I managed to turn to reality. I leaned my head on my mate's chest. After 20 years of longing and waiting, my life is finally complete. Amid the joy and laughter of my pregnancy, my wedding finally took place. It was not just a wedding ceremony for a male and a female arranged to be married. It's also a mating ceremony for an Alpha and a Luna who found love and peace in each other's arms. The Crystal Tears pack invited all the other packs, Alphas and Lunas. They spared no expense to throw the grandest wedding no pack has ever seen. Luna Shay and her mate were the only ones who didn't attend out of respect for my uncle. Though my uncle told me he no longer declares a cold war between two EA packs. Luna Shay also sent me a wedding gift along with an apology letter from her Alpha. My mother kept looking at me as I put on the wedding dress, sometimes smiling with relief, sometimes crying with bittersweet emotions, sometimes chuckling and beaming for no reason at all. Your father will be so proud of you. The mention of my father made me freeze. He is. I compelled myself not to cry, otherwise it would ruin the makeup. My mother nodded. After fixing my veil and my tiara, she held my hand as we walked towards the wedding hall. The roof was open to the sky, and all four sides were open to the elements. Different colors of lilies and orchids ornamented the setting. My favorite lilies of the valley were the highlight of it all. Even my bouquet is composed solely of those lilies. The scent of flowers flitted past me, and I closed my eyes for a moment to inhale the lulling scent. Halfway to the aisle, I saw the Zane twins being detained by the Alpha's guards. They were still struggling and refusing to leave, even though they had been beaten until black and blue. When they saw me, their dull and teary eyes brightened. Their split lips curled to smiles. Xavier shouted, Louise. Zuz breaks free from one of the guard's hold, but he is quickly pinned down. Louise, you can't marry him. We know we were wrong. It was Lucille who wanted the Zane family's wealth and our pack's downfall, but you made a promise to marry either of us. After 20 years of being their sister and friend, they only realized my worth after I had left them. How pathetic and absurd. I did not respond to their pleas. Zuz, who always considered himself a noble male, knelt before me. My mother cursed at the sight of him. With his face in his palms, he sobbed. Louise Black, have you really forgotten everything that we shared? He lifted his gaze to mine, and I saw the eyes I've come to love for 2 decades once again. You walked away without taking anything except our hearts and love for you. You did not take even a single photo or dress. The lilies of the valley in the mansion you planted were gone. You left no trace, not even a strand of your hair. After 20 years, you left behind nothing, except memories, as if you've never been there. I kneeled down to meet his face, my bouquet on the other hand. What's painful, isn't it? That the most treasured people in your life becoming but memories. I brought his sweat-slicked hair behind his ears and stood again. My mother muttered some warning at Zuz. A heartbeat later, the wedding hymn started and drowned out Zuz crying. My mother signaled for the Alpha's guards to take the Zane twins away. I didn't glance back at Zuz. He was my past, the everything I had back then. I shook my head as I gathered myself again. However, a sharp cry pierced the music and Xavier came dashing to me. He dropped to his knees and then grabbed a table knife. Xavier, no, I didn't finish what I said when he slammed the knife hard onto his own leg. I shrieked at the sight, but he looked at me with a smile, as if he did not feel any pain, as if he didn't see any blood. Louise, please don't be angry. Forgive me, please. I'll do everything you ask me, even kill myself if you want me to. I looked at his bloodied leg and sighed. Zuz, Xavier, you both taught me that no effort matters when the other person doesn't appreciate it otherwise. I'm pregnant now. Xavier flinched at that, and from this day forward, all that matters to me is my family of 3. My love and my happiness. You re-pregnant? It wasn't a question from Zuz, rather a realization of what both of them were facing. So I hope you'll stay out of my life for good, I continued, my voice gentle and soft. I have forgiven both of you, but I will never forget what you two have done. This will be the last time I'll see you. Even if you two were dying, I wouldn't want to see you ever again. With a wave, I ordered the Alpha's guards to take them away. They just went with them silently, as if finally accepting their defeat. I turned to the wedding aisle, walking slowly and confidently to the mate and husband waiting for me at the other end, Alpha Zayden Reed. In the presence of both the Dark Tide Pack and Crystal Tears Pack, we exchanged rings and recited vows of love under the light of the full moon. I offered a quick prayer to the moon goddess, a prayer of gratitude and hope and guidance. All the past bitterness had already faded, all the pain have bloomed into hope. As Alpha Zayden and I kissed, as the wedding and mating ceremony ended, I promised myself that from this day forward, I will live a life full of joy and with no regrets. Series 2, they certainly love each other, don't they? I compelled myself not to glare at Beta Homer as his words hit close to home. I crossed my arms, a displeased grin split my lips. Oh, they've been doing that many times that I felt like the Alpha's personal Omega rather than the actual Alpha's girlfriend. Alpha Jonathan, my boyfriend of 4 years, is dancing closely with Amelia, another Beta's daughter. Though Amelia and I both came from a prestigious Beta family, she happens to be the one closer to the Alpha because of their childhood friendship. I returned my eyes to them, dancing on the floor to the sway of melancholic music. My gaze was nothing short of amused. A heartbeat later, the music and dancing ended. They strode to my table, where Beta Series 2, Homer and I are sharing a bottle of champagne along with a conversation that only happens when either of us is drunk. I'm surprised you didn't kiss Amelia, I asked as Jonathan's eyes darkened when he found me sitting on a chair in a vulgar position. We're just playing a game, babe, he explained gently, trying to portray himself as the ever-humble gentleman. Besides, you re-drunk more than usual today. I shrugged. Can't I just celebrate anytime I'd like? Just as you two cuddle each other anytime, even when your girlfriend is here. It's just a dance, Anastasia, Amelia chirped behind him, her face the perfect portrait of boredom. And do dance partners lean into each other and whisper lovingly? I raised a glass of champagne before sipping it half. Both of them were silent, so I filled their Series 2 glasses with the liquor. When I lifted my gaze, the Alpha's face contorted to embarrassment to disdain. I told you, Amelia and I are just friends. There's nothing between us. His tone was both soft and echoing with warning. I ignored that warning. If there's nothing between you, then you two won't be friends. I made my sickly sweet smile be at the front line of my expression. As anticipated, Amelia slammed a hand on the table, but not enough to rattle the glasses. Why do you always create drama every time John and I are together? Can ta female just spend time with her male best friend? Oh, you can, I drawled, as long as that male doesn't have a girlfriend watching both of you one breath away from kissing. You can't be serious, Jonathan Series 2 sighed. Look, we didn't kiss or lean too much to one another. Probably your drunkenness made you see what you wanted to see, so now I'm delusional. I straightened my back, my rising tone made everyone around us turn to our table, gawking like some hawk in our direction. Beta Homer whispered, Anna, calm down. How could you make the alpha awkward in front of everyone? The beta laughed before I could answer, you shouldn't sit, you should stand so that you can humiliate him further, Homer, and I burped and ended up laughing. Alpha Jonathan just remained on his hot seat, sweat forming on his forehead, glaring at Homer and me. Amelia broke our reverie. Alpha John and I are just friends, Anastasia. If I had any intention of being with him, it would have happened a long time ago considering we grew up together. Series 2, please don't cause any more trouble, babe. Amelia isn't the only one receiving the awkward treatment. You too. So now it's wrong for me to reprimand the two of you that she, I pointed at Amelia, is no longer respecting boundaries or even acknowledging that you are already taken. Well, it seems I'm the one taken for granted. Are you even hearing yourself, Anastasia? The alpha stood and used his alpha tone. He acted as if I had done something so unforgivable that he wanted to shove me out of the pack party by dragging me by the hair, if only I wasn't his girlfriend. I was hurt by his voice, his expression, and his siding with Amelia. For the 1000th time, I'm the one to fix my attitude when it should be Amelia. But my heart was hurt only in the blink of Series 2, and then it no longer did. It was back to beating to my own unending rhythm of being the one to adjust when Jonathan and Amelia were together. And as I heaved a deep sigh, I stood. I will no longer endure this drama. You all have fun and enjoy the night. I'll gladly remove myself to not be your obstacle for tonight. I turned to the alpha as I grabbed my bag, and Alpha Jonathan, no matter how many years we've been together, no matter how many times you've told me what you and Amelia are, I'd like to end this now. He had chosen her many times already. I bet he'll choose her several times in the years to come too. He blinked, then, what do you mean by that, Anna? I, Anastasia Stevens, am now breaking up with you and severing our bond, Alpha Jonathan of the Dusk Rose Pack. I lifted my chin and didn't let my voice waver. I 95 Rise too, hereby reject your love and affection from now on. Alpha Jonathan clutched his chest, speechless. Amelia rushed beside him, whispering comforting words and stroking his hair. I took one look at their hateful faces and then left without a word. I didn't let myself fall as I strode away. I clutched my chest as I turned around, the pain of the breakup and rejection clawed its way past my heart and into the core of my soul. My tears fell on their own accord, and I didn't stop even when I called for a taxi. I can still hear Jonathan's words earlier even when the taxi was already moving. Don't mind her, she's just being fucking dramatic. Was I though? Was it dramatic for calling out your boyfriend and his best friend feeling girlfriend that they reacting more of a couple than the alpha and I ever was? Even with the breakup, the pack party continued lively. The dancing and music have become even more vivacious since my departure. But I don't care. Everyone knew I was upset, and they knew I wouldn't care about Jonathan on the floor, clutching to his chest too. If they gossip about me being heartless, then I'll show them heartlessness. The ride to my apartment took longer because of traffic. When I opened the front door, I already knew the male scent that occupied inside even before I turned the doorknob. Do you really want to embarrass me like that? I chuckled mirthlessly. Is that what you care about? About you being embarrassed in front of the whole pack? Jonathan massaged his forehead as he leaned one hand on the kitchen counter. Anastasia, I think it's you who embarrassed me, Alpha. You dancing intimately with your other woman whom you call childhood friend is pretty much embarrassing for the girlfriend veiled by the shadows in the corner watching the two of you. Although I don't have the energy to argue further, my wolf propelled me to at least stand up to him. Even just once. I waved an idle hand to him when he was about to counter-scold me. I took off my clothes in front of him, letting him see my naked, disappointed body before his bunched brows. We haven't even made love for the past 3 months because of his constant going out with Amelia. With that alone, I don't need to clarify further why I need to break up with him. Make sure you re-gone when I'm finished showering or else I'll dump your clothes and things outside like some bags of trash, I hissed, not bothering to sound angry cause I fucking am. Apparently, he was still in my apartment even when I finished my bath. Why, was all he muttered. He was leaning one hand to the door frame, the other to his waist, as if he was standing outside the bathroom the entire time I took a shower, listening to the rubbing my skin, and the sound of the soap water washing away any trace of filth in my body. He's the only filth left in this place. Go be with Amelia. That's what you want and have been doing all this time, isn't it? Earlier when I left, I saw Amelia posted a picture of her in a car with the caption, "Thank you for always being with me when I'm drunk, even in your current state of recovering from being rejected." I didn't even know Jonathan had a car until the past month when she posted the same picture of her in the back seat, wearing a very sexy dress. You had a car for Amelia alone. I once asked him, but all he explained was that it was a surprise for me. Yeah, right. As if it was me who he wanted to surprise. You have a car, John, but you never offered to bring me home. But to Amelia, I swallowed, tears lining my eyes again. If you can prioritize her like that, what is the point of my existence in your life then? When he didn't answer, I made my voice clearer this time. She posted that you drive her home. While I was left, you broke up with me. His chest rose up and down as he gathered himself after yelling those words. You severed our bond, he whispered, and you still expect me to be a gentleman to you. You could have run after me or fought for our relationship of 4 years. It was my turn to bellow at him, but he only stared at me. Besides, you were never a gentleman to me. I always found myself going home alone. As the alpha of the Dusk Rose pack, I know he's often busy. But why does he always have time for Amelia and not for me? Sometimes, I was ashamed of myself for loving someone like you. It seems in other people's eyes, I don't deserve you. I sobbed and I poured out all my emotions, relentlessly with my crying. When you bought that car, you told me to never eat or do makeup there, but Amelia posted just a few weeks ago doing both. Well, being Amelia does have a privilege after all. We're done, Jonathan. Go. Leave. Be with Amelia. I stomped my foot and I didn't know if the entirety of me ached. For him, all I feel is anger and disappointment and betrayal. All I see is a male, an alpha, who could have been my husband but tossed it all aside for one Amelia. He read the annoyance on my face, but he only pursed his lips and ignored my words, as if everything I said was just on a whim. There's really nothing between Amelia and me. If we wanted to be together, it would have happened long ago, even before you came into our lives. Why can't you understand that? Oh, so it was me who broke their plans of being together instead. And the way he said into our lives, I shook my head. Deny it all you want, John. But everyone can vividly see what the two of you are to one another. He blinked, shocked at my statement, but I held up a hand and looked at him straight in the eyes. As I've already said, I really don't care. You two are obsessed with one another. I'm tired for the day and I don't want to argue further. Can you just be quiet even for tonight? None of us said further after a second as soon as I turned around and went to the bedroom. As soon as I locked the door, I heard him punch the wall, the sound reverberating even with the closed bedroom door. Seeing that I was ignoring his actions, he eventually quieted. Soon, his phone rang with a ringtone he only reserved for one person. I had always been the understanding, gentle, and often if not most of the time possessive. Our arguments always revolved around Amelia, and not once he took my side. He didn't get the expected reaction from me. He thought I would be charging at him with plenty of rebuttals and excuses and other words of possessiveness that I still want him in my life. But I no longer did. And when I heard the creaking of the front door opening, judging by the call's ringtone, I already know to whom he was fucking headed. When I woke up the next day, Alpha Jonathan was gone. He never returned since that tiptoeing of his to answer Amelia's call. I was thrilled about this since I no longer had to worry about eating with him or hearing his second round of making up excuses that Amelia and him have nothing between them. As I prepare myself a simple breakfast of a boiled egg and black coffee, I realize I can actually wake up every day without Alpha Jonathan after all. As I worked my day as a nurse in the PAX hospital, Alpha Jonathan sent several missed calls. He called repeatedly. Thankfully, I managed to put my phone in silent mode as part of the working hours rules. You're not going to answer that? Dr. Alex whispered behind me and I almost yelped. We were both in the elevator as we headed home. No, I'm going home anyway. My entire day went smoothly and I went home feeling very satisfied. But I immediately dropped my satisfied smile when I opened the door to my house. The smell of cigarette already pollutes the air even when I'm just on the threshold. Alpha Jonathan's displeased face greeted my supposed lovely evening. He put out his cigarette as he strode toward me. I called many times. None of it you answered. I crossed my arms. Should I? We already broke up. Why are you still here? His mouth twitched upward. Grow up, Anastasia. You still upset about that pack party dance with Amelia? He scoffed. I scoffed back. Oh really? Didn't Amelia go there as your date? You just invited me out of courtesy. I jerked my chin to his phone. Look at her Instagram post. She even boasted the whole pack of you and her drinking and dancing. Anna. I ignored him. As for your call, I'm a fucking nurse, Alpha. The PAX hospital never runs out of patients. I'm busy working the whole day, and you really can't spare a single damn minute to answer me. I straightened my back and leaned toward him. Who are you in my life then? Aside from being my PAC's alpha, who are you? His nose flared at the same time anger darkened his face. And how much money do you make as a nurse, then? You can barely buy a car. I gifted you one, yet you still prefer to walk home and pay for a taxi. So this is what it's about again. That I'm nothing without you. That I'm poor without you. I leaned my body back against the wall. That I can't live without you. John pursed his lips as he crossed his arms. Can you? I chuckled. Of course I can. But I think it's Amelia who cannot. Why are you still here? Shouldn't you be kneeling before her and kissing her feet at this hour? He snarled at my words. You always felt like you're the only one who's right. He bared his teeth at me, disregarding his tone. Perhaps you forgot if only you weren't as clingy as a leech, I would have never been with you. I blew out a breath. So who's the leech now? Jonathan's blink of shock made him punch the wall once. I only said yes to you because you always annoyed me back when we were in college. Oh yes, you're the dazzling heartthrob back then. The soon-to-be alpha. I should consider myself extremely lucky to be with you. My sarcasm was off the charts. It seems it's what he wanted to say anyway, so I just finished it for him. You unbelievable, he spat. Am I? I scanned him from head to toe. Before you hurl insults at someone, make sure you yourself aren't worthy to be insulted by the same insults too. His words, his expression, his actions, they no longer hurt that much. I'm used to hearing and seeing those things. That's why I broke up with him and rejected him. I'm no longer a fool. Even a fool in love has its limits. The silence between us is more deafening than his loud, uneven breaths, the clenching and unfurling of his fingers into a fist. We just stood there by the foyer, staring at each other like some bulls debating who's going to charge first. Alpha Jonathan exhaled. I went with Amelia today. Don't you have anything to say about that? My brows met. Do I have to? I shrugged and walked towards the living room. I think that's great. You finally courted her after all those years of lying to yourself and me. John looked at me beneath his shadowed gaze and laughed. Well, if you redone whining, Anastasia, then I'd better go. Amelia is waiting for me for dinner. Good. Enjoy your meal and Dawn T, come back if you don't want to. I was too tired to argue further that I just slumped on the couch. I can feel Alpha Jonathan's burning gaze at my back. Before I knew it, the slam of the front door echoed. I did the same to my heart. I was still awake late at night when I saw another post from Amelia. I am always there for you when you need me. My blood boiled at seeing this and I can't even focus on the notes Dr. Alex sent me. But I forced myself to do so, and I did. And as I closed my eyes, I remember the old me, the Anastasia who was so dedicated to Jonathan, the soon-to-be alpha, during her college days. I always worry when he doesn't eat well. I even prepare his meals and cook dinner for him sometimes. Well, I can see why Alpha Jonathan was beloved by the pack. He loved to socialize and entertain people. He loves to drink, especially with Amelia. I am not so into drinking, that's why it hot at first that Amelia was only his drinking buddy. But she became more than that. In fact, I never wanted to be a nurse. During that time in college when there an extra slot for having a paid trip to the neighboring pack for educational purposes, I begged Jonathan to let me have it. Instead, he gave it to Amelia. You already have me, he once said. But Amelia is independent. That's why I think she's perfect for it. That's the charm of Amelia. And I realized since then I could never compete with her in anything. In everything. As I opened my eyes, I didn't think twice about deleting Amelia from my contacts and blocking her from all of my social media. Back then, I was afraid Jonathan would cheat, that's why I added Amelia to keep an eve on her on both of them. But until now, with posts like this and photos from the previous day, it seems like they're no longer afraid to let the world know what's between them. And I'm between them. And sure enough, after deleting her, my world felt much more peaceful. I wasn't shocked when Jonathan did not really come home. I told him to not come back if he didn't want to, so he did. I turned off my phone since I knew not Alpha would no longer bother me with texts and missed calls. The next day, Dr. Alex sent me briefly on the Dawn Thorn pack, our neighbor pack, and where his father is the Alpha. The hospital there had some accident, so they need extra staff. And since I'm one of Alex's trusted nurses, I didn't think twice to rush there and do my job as a pack healer. I returned to my apartment with no one to wait for me. Unfortunately, John called me all of a sudden. Where did you go, Anastasia? I've been looking for you, I am busy. Dr. Alex sent me to the Dawn Thorn pack because they had some accident there and they need more stuff. I made my voice as bland and boring as possible. Anna, then I hung up on the phone without second thoughts. Dr. Alex told me I'll be in the Dawn Thorn pack for 3 days, unfortunately. I told the head of the healers that it was actually fortunate for me. I was walking to the hotel that Dr. Alex had booked for the Dusk Rose Pack healers when I saw Jonathan in the lobby. He looked extremely disheveled, as if he had been trapped in a cave for so long, and he just got out. As soon as his eyes met mine, I felt shivers down my spine. Cold sweat starts to form on my forehead. Before I could turn around, he immediately lunged at me and grabbed my arm with such force that I cried, "Anastasia, are you avoiding me?" "Of course I am. We have already broken up and it is right that I avoid you and you leave me fucking alone." "Where were you?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "From the Dawn Thorn Pack's hospital obviously. I've been working all day unlike you." I refrained from looking at him because if I do, it's like the old me is resurfacing again. The old me who worries when he shows up with his hair uncombed, the old me who panics when I see him like this. Maybe in Alpha Jonathan's eyes, I was still the same. "I am still the old me, Anastasia." He uttered my name only once as if he had no energy left to beg. So was I. "Not now, John. I'm too exhausted to deal with you. I want to rest." Without further ado, I climbed to my room and left him where he was standing. I was about to take a shower when I saw my windows were wide open. John was standing next to my bed. I sat on the bed and asked him, "What kind of reaction do you want from me for you to think it's right, Alpha?" I crossed my arms, even with my bathrobe on. "You want me to shriek at you? Yell some nonsensical questions? Tell you what I think about you and Amelia?" "Anastasia, Anna." He reached for my hand, but I immediately jerked it away even when I hit my back on the wall. "Please, Alpha. Leave me alone. Do you feel hopeless and helpless? So don't care if I'm sobbing now. I just want to show to him what he's doing to me every time he shows up. I just want to work well. I just want a peaceful, healthy workplace as a nurse and not like this." I waved at him. "You show up in the places I only want to be myself." Jonathan sat across me. "But you weren't like this before, and it hot you left because I didn't come back that night. I thought you were just feigning that breakup thing between us because I was dancing with Amelia. Also, I wasn't tea with Amelia that night. I didn't come back. I slept at my friend's place at Beta Homer's. One promise," Alpha Jonathan confessed, "which I didn't expect. But it didn't matter anymore. I'm tired. And I want to move on." I sighed. "I believe you, but just like the times I reminded you we redone, Jonathan. If there's nothing else you have to say, I'd like to take a shower. My body ached for a rest now, so goodbye." Seeing the dismissal, seeing he couldn't refuse, he left through the same window he came by. Shower I had may have rinsed all the things Jonathan and I talked about, but it also brought back some memories. It was also about when my now Alpha boyfriend did not come home. I asked him many times before he left, but he really hated telling me where he was. He really wouldn't tell me his whereabouts. It was when Amelia returned from the Dawn Thorn Pack from that paid trip, and Jonathan and his friends gave her a welcome back party secretly. I was worried he would drink too much at the gathering and might have some health problems. I searched for him everywhere, bar by bar, from restaurants to restaurants, until I saw Jonathan and Amelia holding hands in a bar not far away by the window. From then on, I felt like a huge joke. The loving John I came to love wholly felt like an illusion. That night, a heavy rain arrived in the city. Jonathan even held an umbrella for Amelia while they both sheltered from the weather under it. As for me, I was like I swam miles and miles of flood. I was drenched heavily, my tears competing with the rain. The next day, Jonathan was startled when he saw me on the couch looking like some wet cat. "Anastasia," he blurted. I slapped him once, then twice. "Did you think of the person at home who couldn't find you while you were drinking with Amelia? Anna, you crazy, aren't you?" He released an exasperated breath. "You know, I sometimes asked myself what I see in you. And looking at you now," he ran a look from my soaked hair down to my mud-splattered boots, "I think I know the answer." He walked past me, and that sickness rose from my stomach to my throat. I felt sick. As long as he was with Amelia, as long as Amelia was with us, they were going to be the lovebirds of the century. I turned off the shower as my mind returned to the present. Thinking about it now, I was really dumb to stay with him for 4 years. Without the love he was receiving from me, he looked completely ordinary, as if he was never an alpha. As I had my breakfast the next day, I found out John was just staying in the room next to mine. He kept on eyeing at me like some dog who doesn't want his owner to vanish before his sight. He even stayed with me at the Dawn Thorn Pack's hospital to finish some paperworks before Dr. Alex dismissed us. The alpha stubbornly stayed with me all day and then went home with me as well. I couldn't argue further, so I just let him. When I got home, as soon as I opened the door, there were already people there, John's friends and Amelia, including Beta Homer. They have prepared a table full of delicious food as if welcoming Jonathan back, that they re glad they've seen him again for so many decades. It was only 3 days. Even with the food's appetizing look and mouth-watering smell, I feel nauseous. Amelia instantly met my gaze. The alpha only went to Homer's house that day, and now you have to be dramatic and go to another pack without the knowledge of the alpha. As the alpha's girlfriend, you surely have no sense of responsibility. Her scolding tone surpassed my frowning. Their friends seemed inclined to agree. Of course, they should. I am not their friend. John, however, dragged his gaze from his friends to me. His eyes were lined with silver and were bright with pleading. No one thought of the fact that Amelia scolding me was absolutely unnecessary, feeling righteous. I didn't flinch when I closed the distance between me and Amelia, straightening my back and lifting my chin. And what position are you in that you feel so highly above me? She blinked, taking a step back. It's me and Jonathan's relationship. Why do you have to insert yourself as if you were the wife? John whispered a warning behind me, but I ignored him. You know that your alpha already has a girlfriend. Why do you need to act as if we're in a competition? You don't respect one's boundaries and a show-off, proving to everyone that you all-knowing. And I crossed my arms, my body a perfect portrait of irritation. This is my place. You trespassing it. If you want my boyfriend, you can have him. I've already dumped him and severed our bond since that lovely dance of yours. I pointed to the door, eager to remove all these people from the comfort of my home. I tossed the alpha look and he gave them a tight nod. One by one, they passed by me, through the door and outside my place. Until it's only me and John and Amelia. Please remind your lovely friend that we already broke up. Tell him to stop chasing me. I turned to him, staring right at his soul. We're already broken up this time. For good. I waited for their response, but none of them was brave enough to part their lips in front of me. If you really care about me for a bit, Jonathan, you would have known I despise seafood. Yet all you remember is how your beloved friend, Amelia, likes them. I bumped Amelia's shoulder as I walked past her. She didn't budge or flinch. Anastasia, his voice was hoarse and broken. I sat on the living room sofa. Get out, both of you. Anna. This time, his tone was more commanding, more beseeching. I glanced at him and he offered me his most tender smile, the same smile he showed me when I said yes to be his girlfriend. No, Jonathan. I don't care if my voice croaked. No. Are you deaf and blind, or these are your true colors? Amelia stomped her foot on my floor, her tone rising. Amelia. John shouted at her. Their eyes met for a heartbeat. Then, she was marching to the door. Tickle, what a dramatic exit. Anastasia. He definitely wouldn't leave me alone. I was actually planning to propose to you today. I bought the ring you liked, the amethyst one. Here he goes again, playing with my feelings. Stirring old emotions. I know I've neglected you and always prioritized my own happiness, but I'm really trying to change. I've got everything ready, even your wedding dress. Let's go have our wedding in a week, okay? Prioritized my own happiness, so Amelia is his own happiness. I ignored his eagerness and snorted. Jonathan, I said we breaking up. I'm not just joking. When he didn't reply and just stared ahead, gazing at nothingness, I sighed. I never wanted to break up with you because it was hard to win you over. I was so madly in love with you back then. I cherished what we had for the 4 years we've been together, so I thought ignoring you and Amelia more wasn't a big deal. That it wouldn't affect me. I even dreamed that one day, I'd wake up as Amelia and we'd truly be in love. That you'll one day worship me like how you kneel before her feet. I wiped the tears from my face. But I was wrong. There was only Amelia in your life. I never existed. Jonathan immediately closed the distance between us in 2 mighty steps. He held my hands and kissed each of them. I swear that night I wasn't with Amelia. I slowly looked at him. We can still be together, he said. We can start anew. But then I pulled myself together. I pulled myself from him, slowly backing away. I deleted Amelia from my contacts and blocked her from all my social media accounts. That night you didn't return home. I can see the shock swirling in those eyes that I once used to admire. Anastasia, he lowered his gaze and ran a hand through his hair before returning those teary eyes to me. It only happened once, I swear. That day, you wouldn't go out with me. I was so upset that I slept with M. When I realized it wasn't you, I stopped immediately. We stopped immediately. His confession sent my crumbling world into smithereens. I knew it, and though it was unexpected, it was not shocking at all. Anna, he extended a hand to caress my cheek. I know I was wrong, but I'll change. Get out, was all I uttered. It's too late, Jonathan. I don't care anymore. I don't care if you change or not, just leave me alone and get out. It took a whole 5 minutes before he dragged his feet away from me. As soon as the shutting of the door rattled our framed pictures, I could already see Amelia's victorious face for what happened. After they left, I slept soundly. But my peaceful night was immediately cut short when my phone chimed with a text message. Amelia and Jonathan are both naked in bed. It only happened once, Anastasia. I chuckled mirthlessly at Jonathan's words earlier. Only the dead would believe his lies. Although it made me vomit, I gulped down the bile that rose to my throat at the foul picture I received. Really? Is this all that you can do, Amelia? I texted the unknown number and then blocked it right away. I went back to sleep as though I just dreamed all of it. Dr. Alex approached me the next day. The Dawn Thorn pack wants a head nurse as their current head nurse resigned after being married to another pack's alpha. Alex has approached me with several offers from other packs, but I rejected all of them because I don't want to be far from John. Now that I'm free from him and single, I immediately volunteered for it even when he didn't offer it to me at first. As soon as they mentioned head nurse, I immediately thought of you. But then I remember you always rejected all the opportunities one laid before you, so I didn't tell you right away. What makes you eager for this, Anna? I swallowed and composed myself. Because I want to have a new life and get out of this pack as soon as possible. Dr. Alex blinked. Breakup? I just nodded tightly. Even when I still found it hard to let go, a part of me still wanted Jonathan in my life. That's why I want to leave, so that I can totally detach myself from my past and welcome my future gleefully and worry-free. After all, it's not easy to give up on someone you've dedicated your life and love to. I'll be arranging for your departure then. I smiled at him and turned away. I don't know how the Alpha of the Dusk Rose pack found out about the pack hospital's offer, but he showed up in the hospital's parking lot looking like one step from collapsing. A wave of anxiety pulled me under. Not him again. When he saw me, he tried to hug and kiss me. I pushed him away without breaking a sweat. What are you doing here? I hissed. I just noticed his eyes are red-rimmed and he looked rather pale. Really, Anna? Ever since that dance with Amelia, you're like this. Like what? Like you never loved me. So you knew all along. My shoulders slackened as I turned to him fully. It wasn't just about the dance. It's about you always choosing her, prioritizing her. You used to forgive me for anything, he added. His words were interrupted with constant sobs. That sex with Amelia is nothing, Anastasia. That was. He shook his head as he searched for the right words. But he couldn't. I was drunk. And you knew you were not going to be yourself when you were drunk. Why still drink? I knew those words struck harder than my ignoring them. Those liquors are just an excuse. This is what you wanted, isn't it? I tipped my head to the sky before returning my eyes to his gaunt face. Back then, when you were with Amelia, you always saw me as the annoyance. Now that you have this chance with her, to be with her, why aren't you entertaining it? So that's it. His throat bobbed. You no longer see the need for me, so now you retossing me to another woman. I laughed. So now it's my fault. I looked at his stubborn face and whispered, I'm tired, John. Just let me go home and go to Amelia. She'll probably be missing your cock. My insult made him flinch, and I saw how hard he kept his fists to his side, as if any time those punches would collide to my face. The remaining days before I departed, Jonathan rented the place near my apartment beside my home. He really won't leave me alone. That he sees it fit for him to be my next-door neighbor. One day, after drinking too much, he suddenly kneels down in front of my colleagues. I instantly became the center of attention. Anastasia. He grabbed my hand and pleaded, Anna, I can't live without you. I'm begging you for another chance. A second chance. Please, please, Dawn. Be heartless. Can't you hear my heart doesn't beat without you? If your heart didn't beat, you would been dead. I rolled my eyes at him and at my thought. Jonathan jumped for my leg, clinging to it like some sloth to a tree branch. But I managed to get him off me as soon as Dr. Alex arrived. When the crowd dispersed, John shot right to his feet and stood as if he was never intoxicated. Anastasia, I'm not giving you up. I jerked my chin to him. Neither do I. I won't stop rejecting him and telling him to fuck off. I'm totally done with him. That all his sweet words and pretending and pleading were nothing. He was just trying to force me to be back in his arms again. I shook my head as my realization punched me in the gut. Alpha Jonathan was now as obsessive as I once was 4 years ago. Because of the Alpha, I had become the talk of the hospital the next day after that lovely incident. Rumors of the Beta's daughter ignoring the drunken Alpha on the floor eventually scattered all around the pack like wildfire. They're just interested in some juicy gossip and not really that concerned about my life. John remained stubborn. He brought me breakfast before work and picked me up with flowers after work, regardless of the weather, because he knew all those times I rejected him, he had more chances to show how heartless I was. When Jonathan kept doing that, I asked Dr. Alex to accompany me after work to go to some club just so I could avoid him. The head of the healers saw that I badly needed his help too, so he extended his arm and I looped mine to his. We definitely look like a real couple. And sure enough, as soon as I went home, my plan worked. Well, not really, cause I found him crouched on the stairs leading to my place. Who was that? And why do you care? Alex immediately appeared behind me. I didn't even know he followed me. Who are you? John snarled, but Alex ignored him. Seeing the panic in my eyes, Alex slid an arm to my waist. Come, babe. I booked us a hotel. John's growl shook the earth, but both of us didn't care. Don't worry, I was once in a relationship like that, Alex explained as soon as we got to our hotel room. They re dangerous, not because they're obsessive, but because they no longer see the need to respect you. They see you as a possession of theirs that they'll chase even to the far end of the world. Thank you, I inhaled. I found myself wandering to the window, and there, John was standing outside. Thunder cracked the distance and soon, the rain started to pour. Alex saw him too. See, that's why. I understood what he meant, and right now, instead of hatred, I feel sorry for John. He no longer feels the need to live. He doesn't know how to let go, as if what he and Amelia have possessed him with intense guilt that he thinks the only way to solve it is to prove to me we can still be together despite what happened. Well, what's done is done. I dialed Amelia's number and spoke in a flat tone. Stop letting him go out and make a scene. Dr. Alex tossed me a subtle smile. I just shook my head. I'm no longer concerned about your relationship. Pick him up from the hotel. Amelia arrived sooner than Alex and I expected. It was midnight and she looked worn out too, as John and her have been through shit. Don't get too excited. He won't end up with you again. Oh, I know. If you like him, don't take your eyes off of him. Dr. Alex and I are awoken by his odd presence instead. She looked at me, then the doctor, then back to my pursed lips. You happy now? Oh yes. It seems the alpha needs someone more he loves, and I need someone who always prioritizes me. She bit her lip as if my words bit so hard. Then intended. He's yours, I added, waving a hand to Jonathan, who refused to remove himself from the rain. Go fetch him. Love him. Convinced him to cut his shit, because I will be starting a new life with Dr. Alex on the Dawn Thorn pack. Though Alex and I are just pretending so that these two will leave us alone, there's something sparkled in the doctor's eyes, as if he's glad that I'll be with him in his father's pack. Amelia turned as soon as the rain stopped and John collapsed. He's just being dramatic. He has a flair for those things. It was past midnight when I found out that John went home to his own place, a penthouse in the most expensive condo of the pack. The next day, I left the hotel room first. Dr. Alex was still sleeping. Both of us have our own rooms since it's a suite. Nothing happened between us. Unlike John, Alex knows how to respect boundaries. He understands that no means no. I carried my luggage with a calm heart when the day of my departure arrived. This pack had given me too many painful memories, albeit some of them are worth cherishing. I was boarding the plane when I found a letter on my seat. Sure enough, it's from my ex-boyfriend. Dear Anastasia, you were the only woman who left that I felt you take my heart with you. It was painful not to have you in my life. I just realized your worth now that you're gone. And perhaps my presence in your life for the past 4 years we've been together was really a torment to you. Something flared to life within me. Anger or hatred or guilt, I couldn't tell. I know I caused you a lot of pain. You left without a word, just as I used to do, and I dared not search for you recklessly anymore. Amelia and I, no matter how she feels about me, we agreed to have our separate ways. We should have parted ways since long ago, but we never did. And I just realize now how much those days hurt you. That me and Amelia are not just childhood friends or teenage sweethearts. We were more than that, but not in the same way we were when we're together. Someone sat beside me and I ignored him. When he asked about the weather or something, I just focused my eyes on the letter. I will miss you, Anna, but I must stay away as I have caused too much harm than I compelled myself to see. Please believe me that I truly regret my actions. If I had been more aware of your feelings back then, none of this wouldn't have happened. I won't disturb you any longer and will teach myself on how to move on. But no matter what happens, I will always be there for you whenever you need me. Just call me and I will be there. I tore up the letter after letting my tears dry. Immediately. Some people should leave no trace behind. Once they leave, and I made sure Jonathan did. Just before the plane took flight, I saw the Alpha rushing towards me. He called out my name loudly, almost brokenheartedly. Through the window, I watched him with tears streaming down his face as he voicelessly asked, "Can you not leave?" I shook my head and even gave him a small wave of goodbye as we exchanged our final glance. No means no, I reminded myself. In his eyes, I saw a plea for me to stay. But Jonathan was my past, and I must let him go at all costs. A tide of relief washed through me. But for a moment, I felt that fear coursing in my veins, that when I arrived in the Dawnthorn pack, and no one would entertain me, no one would be friends with me. Life is worth living and taking risks you've never done before, I told myself. I shoved that fear down and sighed, letting comfort and peace encompass my entire being. As soon as the plane was high in the air, Jonathan and I no longer had any connection. For the rest of my life, my world would no longer be involving him. I glanced at my seatmate, but that glance turned into a full-blown stare when I realized who was sitting beside me. Anastasia, Dr. Alex whispered my name, which made all of me stiff. Dr. Alex, I breathed, bringing the hair that blocked my face behind my ear. Don't you have anyone to fly with to the Dawnthorn pack? I shook my head. Unfortunately, no. A smile split his lips, his face lit up. Can we go there together instead? I inhaled a sharp breath, his scent of lavender and jasmine smothering my senses. I think we already are. The END Series 3, 5 years have been nothing now that he had chosen her over me. The full moon outside the window could have been the perfect company for me and Alpha Lucian's anniversary dinner date had it not been for Charmaine the Beta's daughter who captured his heart ever since they were young. For once, I thought they were just friends. But it seems, I'm the one who looks like vying for Alpha Lucian's attention. My phone vibrated again. Another picture of them circulated online, this time more intimate than the one I saw earlier. I never thought I'd be spending me and my mate's anniversary like this, staring at the picture of Charmaine and Alpha Lucian kissing her cheeks in a bright and jolly background. The pack is becoming more involved in our relationship too, commenting with things Series 3, like yay, Alpha Lucian and Charmaine. My dream couple, and marry her already, Alpha Lucian. Dump your girlfriend somewhere and leave her be. I read Charmaine's caption on her post. Again, every word makes me nauseous more and more. Thank you, Alpha Lucian. You always make me the #1 priority in your life. That says enough. Standing from my seat. In the restaurant, I walked straight to the exit. After finding my car in the garage, I locked myself there like it was some semblance of a cage, as if being in a relationship with Alpha Lucian while he pampers another woman isn't a cage enough. My phone chimed once. It seems I haven't really run away from the problem after all. This time, a video showed how Alpha Lucian wasn't ashamed of showing intimacy on camera with Charmaine Series 3, burying his face on Charm's lovely neck. I heaved a deep sigh. This day should be happy for me. But it was only Lucian who was happy and celebrating. I was left here in my car crying because my boyfriend didn't show up on our anniversary date. I shook my head and tried to wipe my face from my tears. But the tears kept coming faster. My tongue could now taste the foulness and saltiness of Lucian's betrayal. I closed my eyes and I could hear Lucian's laughter together with Charmaine's snickering. I can hear the music and their party and their merriment. I opened my eyes and reality slapped me. I'm never going to be happy with Alpha Lucian. He just proved it now when he chose Charmaine over me. Series 3, a few hours ago. Vesta, I'll be late for tonight's anniversary dinner. Something unexpected came up. His voice was void of emotions. I can almost hear him sighing heavily on the other line. Okay, I replied, my voice shaking. He hung up first before I could say more. I gripped my phone at what he just said. At least he remembered that today is our anniversary. After a day of working straight, I arrived early at the penthouse we shared, finding myself a seat next to the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the buzzing city outside with a glass of wine in my other hand. We celebrate in the restaurant where we had our first date, he promised last night. I shouldn't have held on to the promises of my Alpha given that he has other priorities of his own. Series 3, an hour later, and I'm now sitting on our usual seat at our favorite restaurant. I was even wearing the dress when Lucian and I became an official couple. He was my boyfriend for 5 years ever since we were in the pack's college. We didn't immediately tell the world about us, not until we graduated. Charmaine, Alpha Lucian, and Beta Thomas have been inseparable since they were young. Friends at heart and soul, that's their motto. Charm was the only one with no actual title, though being the oldest Beta's daughter is perhaps a title enough. And perhaps it was a mistake to date him and love him. As a simple Omega with no myriad of connections or fancy background, the entire pack narrowed their eyes at me as if they were disgusted that I'm dating the would-be Alpha of the Bright Heart pack. 3 years ago, he became the official Series 3 Alpha. Though he never promised me to be his Luna, being with him and was enough for me. Another hour passed and the waiter just kept on refilling my glass with wine as I refused to order food until my mate arrived. Every minute that ticked by, my heart was a thunderous beat in my ears. Cold sweat formed on my forehead. I was anxious that he wouldn't show up again, that I will be left here hoping forward to nothing again. My fear came true when my phone lit up. I saw who was with Lucien. I ran to my car to avoid being seen crying. I know some of the Brightheart pack was working and dining in that restaurant. I had enough gossip already for today. I cannot be the reason for another set of gossip in the pack tomorrow. With trembling fingers I cleared my throat and dialed my mate's number. Series 3, a cold, emotionless voice answered after the first ring. What is it, Vesta? I'm attending a company dinner. Beyond his voice, the sounds of lively chatter and glass clinking and is that fireworks made my lips curl in betrayal and anger. Where are you? I asked casually as if I just didn't cry a river for what he'd done. I am at a business meeting. Party followed and dinner was served. What's the matter? I heard his footsteps walking towards a quieter place. I made him hear my sobbing this time. Vesta, why are you crying? Lucien paused and then groaned as if remembering what today was exactly. Look, I'll take you to a dinner date. Tomorrow, okay. Tonight is really busy. I promise I'll be with you tomorrow. His last sentence made me punch the wheel of my car. That's what you said yesterday too. Series 3, I don't care if he got mad at my sudden outburst. Truth be told, he doesn't sound like making up a lie, but he doesn't sound like telling the truth either. I remember Beta Thomas once warned me about having a relationship with Lucien. Is this what he's warning me about? Am I really your girlfriend or am I just some plaything to you? I matched my voice with the coldness he usually uses. What kind of question is that, Vesta? This doesn't work anymore, Lucien. I couldn't take it anymore. What are you talking about? Are you drunk? For a moment, I didn't reply. And, as if the light from the moon goddess above enlightened me, I gripped my phone tighter as I said, let's break up, Lucien. Let's end. My eyes flew open as I felt the morning sunshine seeping into my skin. My eyelids have never been heavy. I don't know how much I cried last night. I fell asleep while doing so. You breaking up with me on the phone. My eardrums seemed to be almost shattered by Lucien's screaming the previous night too. Yes, I exhaled. If you can party with another woman kissing you while I wait for you to show up on our dinner date, I have all the right to break up with you on the phone. After ending our call last night, I also bombarded him with messages that I know what he's been up to and that the party is never a part of the business. Charmaine is his business. I poured myself a glass of water after getting out of bed. I deem it necessary, especially with the bawling and sobbing I wasted on Lucien last night. My phone rang. I only took one look at it before shoving it into my drawer. With a heavy heart, I straightened and began packing my things. I am now back in my old apartment, one side facing a river and another the main road. I don't care if it's so far from the penthouse we shared. I just want to get away from him as soon as possible. I checked my phone. I'm not surprised that I have 33 missed calls and a couple of voicemails. I opened one. Vesta, where are you? You know that Charmaine is Beta Vincent's only daughter. I'm just gaining favor from him since he's also one of the pack's elders. I promise we are just friends. You my girlfriend. You can ask Beta Thomas himself that there is nothing between the two of us other than a friendship that has been built for years. Please come back to me. Don't leave me like this. Friends? Since when do friends share a picture of her being kissed on the cheeks by someone else's boyfriend in social media? I have never heard my alpha mate use that pleading voice to me, especially not in a voicemail. If this was in another situation, I could have smiled. But no, it just made the weight of our breakup more depressing. I've been a fool for too long. Perhaps that's what it does to one who's so blindly in love. I unpacked my things and began rubbing the dust off my bed. My room was worn. Nevertheless, I'm now back here in a place I used to call home. This is the place where I'll heal and be whole again. I opened another voicemail. This time, he seemed like crying on someone's shoulder. I'll bet my soul that it was none other than Charms. Vesta, babe. Then there were just sobbing and inaudible words that were between his cries and begging. I don't know if he's really begging or just reminding me that I am nothing without him. Or maybe both. Last night wasn't the first night he stood me up. He always kept me waiting and waiting and waiting. Not to mention he always breaks his promises and then makes another promise only to break that another promise. Sorry, babe. I'm working overtime. I know I promised you a movie date last night. I'll just take you to my yacht and tell the pack's private chef to cook for us. How about that? And yet, there was never a yacht date. That overtime of his was revealed to be attending a concert with Charmaine. That yacht date ended up not happening too, since Beta Thomas told me that it's the anniversary of their friendship and it's not to be missed, knowing that they only celebrate their anniversary once a year. Yeah, right. As if you all only see each other once a year too. I put down my phone and focused on my chores at hand. I walked over to the closet where the paint was already fading and yanked it open. As soon as I opened one of my suitcases, my gaze found a lavish red box with gold ribbon on it. Lucien bought it for me last week. An early anniversary gift, he says. It was a gradient of royal blue and tawny orange handbag, the exact shade of the ocean when dawn rises and the sky's colors rippled on its surface. It was Alpha Lucien's favorite color, and the exact time when we had our first kiss. He shook my head and ignored the gift and tucked it away in the corner. I pulled another suitcase, quickly unpacking my clothes and belongings like how I unpacked my feelings all these years of how my mate treated me. It might have been a heartache to leave the penthouse where most of our memories once came to life. Instead, I felt a great wave of relief washing through me, as if I'd been finally hauled from the ocean where I constantly drown and ask for help. But no one dares. Hours later, I found myself now lying on my old bed. My eyes are red-rimmed again, thanks to the tears that casually slipped from my eyes as I was unpacking. I have left him for good now, I told myself. There's no turning back. As I lay, I finally dared to pick up my phone. And true, it was brimming with gossip. Apparently, Charm has posted that I broke up with her beloved friend Alpha Lucien. She's a heartless bitch, she said in her post. Everyone, be careful of your girlfriends and boyfriends being like her. She just used Alpha Lucien to make herself popular. Several messages of foul insults and heart-wrenching threats flooded my inbox. Now, he's just allowing her to act as if she was the one who had been his girlfriend for 5 years. I'm no longer chasing him. I'm not longer allowing him to chase after me. Not this time, because I finally saw the reason why I needed to stop Lucien's heartless treatment. My Alpha had feelings for Charm, and it was time I accepted that. It's no mystery at all, no matter how many times Lucien lies or beats around the bush every time I ask him about Charm and their so-called friendship. If he's not going to stop his treatment of me, then I should once and for all dwell. Perhaps they do fit each other, and I'm glad I'm now far from either of them. Turning off my phone as I inhaled and exhaled, I began to indulge myself down that road of healing scene close to the grandiose of the penthouse that Lucien and I once shared. Thank you, I said to the concierge, and he gave me a soft smile before vanishing in the hallway. It was almost sunset, and the Bright Heart Pack's event coordinator said that the second night of the feast's dinner will be held on the seaside, so now we're free to do whatever we want. I changed into my swimming attire, eager to dive into the hotel's infinity pool on my first night of stay. I may not have a couple of friends here, but I sure will enjoy the festivities. The sun was just beginning its descent when I plunged myself into the pool's cool waters. I made myself swim from one end to the other until I found myself needing a drink. I sat on one of the chairs to the east of the pool when I felt someone standing behind me. I put down my glass of pomegranate juice and looked up. Vesta, the 2 syllables of my name, from the lips of my once doting boyfriend, were nothing more than a whisper. Leave me alone, was all I mumbled, and I leaned back on the chair. 5 years of living with him wasted away. 5 years of a relationship built upon lies and broken promises and crying. I regretted saying yes to him when he asked me if I'd be his girlfriend. Maybe I should never have loved him at all. Vesta, he called again. This time it was louder, as if ordering me to get up and face him. For the love of the moon goddess, walk away. I didn't lower my voice, and I made sure the staff heard us. No. So he wants to play a game of who walks away first. Fine. What was the point, Lucien? I shot to my feet and rested a hand on my waist. Of us living together when your attention and mind are so far from me. Alpha Lucien and I may have been physically close for the past 5 years, but our hearts seem to be minding their own business with each passing day. So you just broke up with me over jealousy. He ran a hand through his hair. I saw Charm's post on my way to the restaurant. She asked for my help to secure a deal with a big company, and it was a last minute. Dawn T, you know how big of an impact it is for the Bright Heart Pack. Charm needs me for that meeting. And I don't. I retorted, just because it's an anniversary dinner date, does it mean I don't need you? He didn't answer my question. He added instead, some sacrifices are to be made to strengthen our ties with other packs and stop being childish, Vesta. We re-adults now. Put aside your childish jealousy. Come home when you calm down, and I'll just tell everyone that we never broke up. Childish. My eyes simmered with bright fury at that. So now I am childish. I snarled and didn't bother to correct my posture like I was going to shift and pounce at him. He's an alpha, yes. But he's an asshole. If Lucian's goal is to piss me off on the first day of this feast, then he successfully did. Stand down, Vesta. I have no intention of fighting you. Oh, but you do, I spat. Shaking my head, I tried to brush away the anger that he stirred up with his words by inhaling the lulling scent of roses nearby. As I said, leave me alone, he ignored my words. Come have dinner with me. Their steak and lobster are delicious here. He removed one hand from his pocket and offered it to me. The word childish kept echoing in my mind, igniting that surge of anger and turning it into a fiery storm. Was I really that childish? I scoffed. I think you're the one who's childish, Alpha Lucian. Taking my words as my rejection of his offer, he simply pursed his lips and blandly said, enjoy your swim. And then he walked away. I didn't enjoy my swim that night. I sprinted straight to my room, locked my door and the windows, and relentlessly cried on my bed with pillows over my mouth to lower my sobs. The next day, I spent half of the morning deciding what to wear for the formal dinner. I was in the lobby when a familiar scent hit me. The crisp scent of pine and the earthiness of cedarwood punched me in the gut. There's only one male who has that smell. Lucian. His cheerful voice almost made me vomit. Hi, VES. I didn't know that our lovely conversation last night made him joyful. Good thing you didn't bring your obsessive fans. Alpha Lucian might be an asshole, but he's drop-dead gorgeous. No wonder a lot of our pack fangirl over him. He ran a look over my silk dress. It's a kind of dress that changes colors depending on the light, so red when it's bright and glittering black if it's dark. He smiled. You looked as lovely as always, Vesta. I growled, but he only laughed as if my constant shoving and brushing him off amuses him. I'll drive you to the beach. He extended an arm to me the same way did yesterday. I rolled my eyes and walked past him. He true to what Lucian had said. I walked my way to the beach in this dress and heels. I look ridiculous, but I didn't care as long as a car honked behind me. Lucian's car. I could have continued walking when I saw what was behind it. A swarm of his obsessive fanatics were running after him. Hop in. I saw the panic in his eyes. When I opened the door, that sharp female scent tore through my senses that almost made me vomit. My entire body froze when I realized it was Charmaine's fucking scent that lingered, and I was just about to plop down on the seat she sat on. Drive. I yelled at the top of my voice. Alpha. Drive. I yelled at the top of my voice. Alpha Lucian's obsessive fans have surrounded the car from all sides. They eager for you, I hissed. His laugh was dark and hearty. Lucian tossed me a look and the ember at the bottom of my heart flared into a flame. I looked away. You really want to go with me now? Alpha Lucian asked, amusement ringing his voice. I bared my fangs at my ex-boyfriend, my wolf snarling. It's just a ride. Don't be so hopeful. True, I won't let my guard down knowing that Lucian very well knew that I am easy to please. He's just pulling the strings, and I won't let myself be some puppet with her threads left bare for anyone to pull. We managed to get out of that ridiculously chaotic crowd, and Lucian sped away. But that sharp and thick scent of vanilla and lavender keeps clawing its way into my mind. Of course, Charm was here. Why wouldn't she? And this scent, it wasn't just an ordinary scent. Something happened between them for this scent to be so strong and lingering. I doubt it's just a hug or a kiss on the cheek. And somehow, I have a feeling that Lucian knew that, as if letting me know who always comes first even in his car. I didn't hide my scowl as I looked to the window and willingly let that bright flame in my heart turn into a flickering ember. The briny scent of the beach and the cool air made my encounter with Alpha Lucian less tense. The dinner was already being served, but my eyes lingered at the coloring lights that hung between trees, the sound of the crashing waves and the feeling of the sandy beach beneath my feet. Ah, there you are. The Alpha's girlfriend, Beta Thomas greeted behind me, or was it ex-girlfriend already? I compelled my face and sent to reveal nothing. I shrugged. I'm here for the feast of the Rose Moon, Beta Thomas, not for someone. Oh, I narrowed my eyes on him. I didn't know betas can question omegas about how they feel about their alpha, or was it part of your responsibility now too? Thomas blinked. He thought he could still belittle me like some omega 5 years ago. It's nice to see you, grown some claws, Vesta Blake. One tilted my head. It's also good to see that your tongue becomes sharper, Beta Thomas. I moved towards the table before he could comment further. I don't care if I was viewed as rude or heartless. I'm tired of telling people that I'm not some fairy tale villain to Alpha Lucian and Charmaine and Beta Thomas' story. A heavy silence settled over the table as I sat between Lucian and Thomas. Minutes later, the table was filled with various dishes and conversation started to flow between the three. I just casually nodded and threw quick responses of yes and no. I remained silent, content to sip my drink and savor the food and enjoy the festivity. The rose moon above was bright. The music is lively. Tuno Muhammad Khayyam, like your video, there was a huge plate of prawns a few breaths away from me. I hate prawns. I never really like them. But I glanced at Alpha Lucien, who was peeling prawns with a smile on his face, placing them on a plate beside Charmaine. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. Back when we had our dates, he always voiced out that he despised prawns. Peeling them was too much of a hassle, he once said. Yet here he was, serving them to Charmaine without complaining. He was always caring when it came to her, whereas to me I shook my head and dropped my frown. But I wasn't the only one who noticed Lucien's loving gesture. Beta Thomas suddenly shot a swift sidelong glance at me before elbowing his best friend Muhammad Khayyam. Like your video now, the prawns on Charm's plate. Can't you see that this plate over here needs some prawns too? He gestured with his thumb toward the empty plate beside mine, his grin widening. Lucien blinked and froze for a heartbeat, as if he just realized that I was right beside him. That I was present, that I was on their table. Do you want some prawns, Vesta? His voice fell flat. Saving him the effort of making him look like a gentleman, I shook my head. I don't like prawns. Anyone who eats them seems to be a monster themselves, I jokingly said as I helped myself to the plate of raw oysters. The two men blinked, but Charm was the only one who laughed, even if that statement was directly referring to her. No, Muhammad Khayyam. Liked your video. Are you okay, Vesta? You seem rather pale. Charm extended a slender hand to me, and it brushed the tip of my fingers. I jerked my hand away. I don't need her fake concern. I'm fine, was all I whispered. I cleared my throat and repeated, I am fine. No, I'm not. I'm very out of place here, and they knew that. It seemed that Lucien invited me to their table to smack me in the face that I'm an outsider to their little circle, a stray thorn in their garden of blooming roses. I took one last sip of the sparkling wine and muttered an excuse. I tried to hold back tears when the fireworks started, but I realized that no one would hear me nor see me when I cried. Reaching my room, I opened my social media, and the first post I saw belonged to none other than the princess of the night. It was a picture of Charm, Thomas, and Lucien on that table. A fourth plate can still be seen, so they probably took that when I was still there. Lucien was on his plate, cutting a steak while Thomas and Charm were leaning onto each of his shoulders. With a wide smile, the caption says, "Thank you my alpha prince for always making me your number one." At the very bottom of the post section was the time the post was uploaded, 5 minutes ago, and the note, "Close friends only." I choked on a laugh when my eyes caught that tiny bit of detail. So she finally confessed her intention now. Fine, go ahead and take Lucien. I don't want to eat someone else's leftovers anyway. I let out a laugh that sounded like a perfect blend of happy and angry. Good for you. Congratulations on always being the number one. I didn't let my thumb tremble as I hit send and then blocked Charmony, his best friend beside him. What am I to him? Well, I'm just a second choice and second priority, a backup for him in case one woman leaves him. He has an extra woman behind. But now, he's winning me back through some breakfast delivery. The hotel's butler brought me a table full of food, and the meals were piping hot. There were scrambled eggs, pancakes, egg benedicts, fried rice, Italian sausages, and other meals that I barely recognized save for their delicious smell. Why did the alpha give me this? The butler reached into his pocket and handed me a card. He left a letter for you, miss. Oh wow, a morning letter and breakfast. How many times have I dreamed and asked Lucien to do this for me for the past 5 years? Down the telephone. www 7 in the morning, and I'm already packed, ready to leave. I told the front desk that I'll be not finishing the Feast of the Rose Moon because I have some pending work I left in the hospital. As an Omega training in the Pack's hospital, as one of the Pack healers, it's crucial for me to double time and work at the same time learn. Good thing that Francis, the head of the healers, gave me that opportunity. I spent my breakfast in a noodle shop near my apartment, my medicine book on the table. My eyes were busy reading and jotting down notes when several message notifications sounded. As soon as I turned off my airplane off, leaning my back on the chair as I willed my fingers to relax, I tapped on the first message. How's the breakfast? VES. The steak is medium rare and the scrambled eggs are topped with caviar. I read his second message without so much as frowning. Vesta, I apologize last night for our behavior. We were so engaged with each other that I forgot to entertain you further. You left even before the fireworks finished. I hope you were not mad. I rolled my eyes when I opened the third message. Vesta, why did you turn down the breakfast? The housekeeper told me you sent the butler away and told the maids to eat the breakfast themselves. Why? I was about to click on the fourth message when an incoming call suddenly popped up on my screen. I exhaled and swiped right. I told you to leave me alone. Vesta, I'm trying to mend our relationship. Why are you like this? Well, for one, we've already broken up a month ago. Second, you clearly showed met yesterday, who is still your priority. Third, I'm just returning the favor of your breakfast on what you used to do to me. What? His voice rose to a shout, and I leaned the side of my head on the wall. Remember that time you had a car accident and the doctor told you to eat regularly to regain your strength? I've been cooking for you for all those days. Waking up before the sun rises just to prepare your meals, and then I've found out you've been feeding Charmaine all those meals I've prepared for you. That's how ungrateful and disgusted you are to me. Indeed, I tried to lift his spirits up by preparing him delicious meals. One day, I tried to surprisingly visit him in the hospital to check on how he's doing, and I found out he's simply just working on his laptop while Charm was munching the meal I've prepared you. A good cook, Vesta. No wonder Lucien fell in love with you, she muttered to me more like in a mocking tone while side-glancing Lucien, who merely just shrugged a shoulder. Vesta, that's nothing, Lucien groaned. Charm just wants to eat your meals because she's hungry at that time. Oh, so she's always hungry when she visits you, that's why you always handed her the meals I prepared with all my heart. I chuckled anxiously, yeah, right. That's believable, Lou. In a reflex action, I slammed my fists on the table, rattling the plates and utensils. The staff and other customers gaped. I blinked, shame staining my cheeks with red. I bowed in apology to them. I'm sorry. Lucien voiced on the other side. Vesta, are you all right? I'm tired, Lucien. Please, I'm trying to move on from you. I put a hand on my heart. Please, let's part ways from now on. You spend time with Charmaine and Thomas while I focus on my career and perhaps find new love along the way. Please, I begged him, letting my voice shake. He was silent for long. I was about to put down my phone when my tears broke free from my hold. I barely healed myself from the past month to what he did on our anniversary date. And now, Alpha Lucien, as my mate, I addressed him intimately. Please let me go. Let me go from this endless cycle of hurt, and let me heal from the pain. Please. I went home to my apartment that day with a heavy heart and a slightly red fist from my table slamming. Even with my begging on the phone, I know he wouldn't listen to me. He still wants to keep me like some spare pet. I took a nice cool shower to rinse off today's drama and finished my studying for the day about how to stitch deep wounds. As I plopped down my bed, I glanced at the ceiling. I may not see the stars, but I can feel the moon. What will I do, moon goddess? I found myself whispering, praying on what to do with Lucien. We remates, yes, but there's no longer love binding us. What Lucien does is he's just obsessed over the fact that an Omega like me finally chose to leave him, and it hurts his pride. He thought that I might be just an Omega. And he's an Alpha, that I will stomach him forever, that I will endure him forever. I will not. I will certainly not. Enough is enough. My work the next day ended up smooth. No calls throughout my working hours, even in my coffee breaks and lunch breaks. 5 in the afternoon, and the light of day began to fade, slowly replaced by the shades of early night. I blindly reached for my phone to turn off airplane mode. My eyes scanned the nurse station. Shadows shrouded with only one blinking light on the end of the hallway, and the other light was near the elevator on the other end. The emptiness and the quietude around was unsettling. I can hear my heartbeat. I can hear the sound of Lucien and Charm and Thomas laughing. I shook off that heavy feeling, that haunting stillness that reminded me of why my PAC hospital's director and the head of healers, Francis, always urged me to go home immediately. Because silence brings painful memories. I entered the elevator when my phone rang. I gritted my teeth and hissed, "Oh, shut up, Lucien." But when I glimpsed at the screen, it wasn't Lucien's name across the display. Why would Beta Thomas call the Alpha's ex-girlfriend? Curiosity possessed me, and I swiped right to answer. Vesta. Thank the moon goddess, you finally answered. Thomas's usual jolly voice pierced my ears. Where are you? We've been waiting for you in the restaurant since 4. What? What restaurant? Why? I bombarded him with questions. Waiting for me for what? What do you mean for what? VES. The Beta's tone was both impatient and puzzled. You and Alpha Lucien invited us out to dinner here as soon as the Feast of the Rose Moon ended, remember? What? I never said that, but Beta Thomas already cut me off before I could ask more. A new message notification appeared under his name, and I found an address and a VIP room number. Star Moon Restaurant. The restaurant where we're supposed to have our anniversary date. Me and Lucien, favorite restaurant. I can taste the sweetness of those early memories. Our eyes locking, our hands reaching for each other, and then our lips meeting with equal sensuality and intimacy. I also found that Lucien messaged me a day ago. You walked out all of a sudden on that beachside dinner, babe. Let's invite both of them to make up for your sudden departure. A low snarl escaped my chest, my wolf furious. The thought of Charmaine and Lucien together in the Star Moon restaurant. They haunted me, their laughter wrapped around my mind to the brink of mindness. But what if this is the moon goddess' sign of paving a way to a better future? I will let this dinner be the time. I will voice out my feelings and truthfully announce my breakup with Lucien right in front of the two most important people in his life. If I did this right tonight, maybe the alpha will finally leave me for good and will finally stop chasing after me. It was time to set things straight after days and days of crying and being hurt. I extended a hand to call for a taxi. On the way to the Star Moon restaurant, I sighed with relief that after all this time, I could finally be free from them and they could all be free of my unimportant existence. I stared at the Star Moon restaurant for a few heartbeats. I just realized I ended my relationship here with Lucien on the very day we were celebrating our love. I suppose there was never love between us. It was only me who used to be head over heels on him. Now, I'm head over heels in leaving him and building a better life without him. Taking a deep breath, I began searching for room number 4. This Vesta, who does she think she is to just walk out like that? I froze, my hand hovering just above the handle of the VIP room. That obvious, always cheerful tone belonged to the beta. If she weren't the Alpha's girlfriend, I would have blacklisted her from the Bright Heart Pack with all the connections I have. I don't care if she goes rogue. Thomas's voice flitted through the door, sending my back straight. Not now, Tom. Charm drawled. Vesta isn't just someone. She's Lucien's lover and girlfriend. You don't know when you'll open your eyes one day and she's already our pack's Luna. The beta's voice broke through the chill slithering in my skin. Whatever. In my eyes, you're still the best match for our alpha. If our pack is going to have a Luna, it should be someone as strong and elegant as you. I stepped back, the weight of his words sinking in. My back hit a wall of hard muscles. What are you waiting there, Vesta? Go on in. We've been waiting for you. I whipped around. I glared at him with a fury that could bring down the sky. You want me to go in? Why should I? I never invited them to dinner. That was all you. Vesta, please. Let's not do this again. I heard the door open behind me, and I didn't need to whirl around to know it was Thomas and Charmaine. I snapped my gaze to both of them. The beta blinked, unable to decide if he should jump right in front of his alpha or remain on Charm's side. Charmaine, on the other hand, quickly suppressed the grin on her face from spreading, and the sparkling of amusement on her eyes. I bared my teeth at the two. I heard Lucien cursing under his breath. My growl sent my claws retracting from my fingers before I could stop it. My wolf will tear these two to pieces. Moon goddess be damned. Beta Thomas stepped forward, his body blocking my path to Charmaine, instinctively shielding Charm as if she was a fragile Luna. You two-timing bastard, Lucien. Then my palm slapped Alpha Lucien of the Bright Heart Pack's handsome face. The sound of the slap seemed to linger. None dared to open their mouth to speak. Everything was starting to make sense now. So Lucien really did have feelings for Charmaine. I wasn't imagining things all this time. My gut was right. That explains why he was always so eager to be there for her, more than for anyone else. More than for me. Not even fate or our mating bond can stop him from following Charm around like some obsessive dog who always wants to be there for his possessive master. Charmaine broke the silence. Vesta, calm down. There has to be some kind of misunderstanding, she urged, her voice reverberating with fake concern. Oh, there is a misunderstanding. I turned to Alpha Lucien, who's still clutching his face from my slap. You redating me, but you also want to date Charm. I hissed, where does your loyalty and heart really lies, Alpha? Or it doesn't get tired in living in lies. Vesta, I'm sorry I missed our anniversary. Alpha Lucien's voice blasts through the tension with a finality in his tone. He rarely apologized. In fact, he never apologized. He will not say sorry, especially not to my face and in front of the love of his life. Charmaine is just like a sister to me, nothing more, he insisted. You know this. I've told you before many times. The air went frigid. I glanced sideways at Thomas and Charmaine. The beta tossed Charmaine a concerned look while Charm's gaze was fixated on Lucien, her face pale and void of emotion. For once, I might have thought that there's a love triangle between the three best friends. I let out a bitter, emotionless laugh and pivoted back to Lucien. It doesn't matter, Alpha. Whatever your relationship with her truly is, I meant what I said. We're done and done for good. Don't ever call me or chase me or send me some breakfast through your butlers. My mate reached out, trying to grasp my hand for one last time. I jerked away and almost collided with the wall. Dawn T. My voice was low and vicious. Don't touch me ever again and stop looking for me. Go worship Charmaine. She's the one you truly love, isn't she? I don't need to glimpse over them to know their reaction. I went home straight after that. I was exhausted, but at least my plan was easier executed than thought of. Now I'm fucking free. Meslick, my apartment has become my tomb once again, drowning my sorrows in red wine. That Francis gifted me earlier. Happy memories, along with traumatizing memories, flashed before me. And then it hit me. A decision struck me and cleaved my heart in two. I opened my phone and my laptop simultaneously and deleted every picture that Lucien and I shared. Every message, every post that I made with him, or a post that tagged me, I deleted it. I blocked him in all forms of social media along with his best friend. Charmaine is already no longer on my friends list. I erased every trace that Lucien had left. I want to cleanse my present life from him so that I can face the future free from my past. I never want to remember him again or let him invade my thoughts ever again. Then my wolf whispered, why didn't I do that sooner? It was because I still keep hoping under the moon that we will one day be a couple full of love. But we never have been. Lucien's interest in me was temporary, short-lived. It's as if to only show the Brightheart pack that he cares about omegas like me when behind my back, he's busy spending his time with his more than friends. It was foolish of me to hope for the betterment of us. Now all I am tasting is the bitter aftertaste of a breakup. It was foolish of me to love him when it's obvious that his heart beats for Charmaine. That's how pathetic I was. I wasted my 5 years and more for someone like Lucien. I had worshipped him, dedicated my very existence to him. And yet he never saw me the same way as I did. He didn't even show an inkling of what I've shown him towards me. Days and weeks seem to blur together. I've poured my heart into my work as a training healer. I wouldn't drown myself in regret and self-loathing. I am still Vesta Blake even without Alpha Lucien. Every time Francis gave us a lecture about more advanced topics in medicine, I listened attentively. I didn't waste a breath to jump at the chance to learn even more. I work and work and work. I study and learn and listen. I become obsessive with my work as a training healer to the point the PAX hospital becomes my primary home. I will turn these heartbreaking emotions into a jaw-dropping amount of productivity. Francis became impressed as each day passed, but he became suspicious and worrisome one day, face scowling and eyebrows arching. What's wrong, Franz? I asked him as soon as I closed my laptop after a presentation of stitching a wound near the heart if a silver bullet passed through it. His lips flattened. You seem to not be yourself lately, Blake. Francis and I used to be close friends in college. He's my senior and he befriended me even before I met Lucien. He comes from an elite family of betas. But his mother is the previous PAC hospital's director, so, as the eldest son, he followed his mother's footsteps. What? I chuckled anxiously. I am still Vesta Blake. Now, our friendship is more professional and work-related. Is your breakup with the Alpha the cause of this? He inclined his head. Or perhaps it's the result of this. I shook my head vehemently. Francis, I just enjoy my work. I love my job, you very well know that. I've never seen you this hard-working before. You graduated with a course of basic medicine only, but now you're learning as if you want to be my protege. Not even since you graduated from college you re this driven. I forced a smile. Franz, you re just being too observant that you re making up conclusions. He then shrugged when I tried to insist that it's not because of me and Lucien's breakup. You've done enough for the day. Let's go home, my maid is already waiting for me, Francis said rather casually. Even with the simple dismissal, I can taste him upset as I licked my lower lips. Francis offered to drive me home. I tried to decline as it made me awkward being alone in a car with a mated male, but his insistence left me with no choice but to agree. As I stepped out of the car in front of my apartment building, a familiar scent flared my nose and punched me in the heart. It was the scent of cedar and pine. I am already prepared to fight, or flight, should he ever come face to face with me again. My gaze automatically followed the cedar and pine scent. There in the shadows of the outdoor parking lot stood my ex-boyfriend. A deep frown was what I noticed first, then the hands on his pockets before my eyes glancing back at his face. His eyes were glowing with that golden signature stare of a werewolf on one step to shifting. Our eyes locked. I willed my wolf's eyes to shine too. Is something wrong, Blake? Lucien's ears cocked as if hearing our conversation. I turned to see Francis, his eyes locked on the parking lot, but did not notice Lucien. He was still seated in his car with the driver's window down. Do you need help? I can accompany you to your apartment's door if you'd like. Francis might be from a powerful beta family and the head of the healers, but he's no match for an alpha, especially to a mated alpha. I'm pretty sure when an alpha tossed a gaze to someone like that, any sane wolf would obviously put herself in a survival mode and flee. No need, Francis. I kept my tone soft and casual before slamming the car's door closed. Francis nodded, rolling up the window before driving away. I couldn't help but smile at how caring he still is to me. If only he wasn't a married and mated male, I'll definitely settle down with him. I watched his car vanish beyond the parking lot when a huge hand rested atop my shoulder. Is he your new boyfriend? I choked on a laugh. Who was that? He asked again when I didn't reply. That. I stepped a foot backward, only to clash with a wall of powerfully built chest. Alpha Lucian was behind me, his eyes still glowing with that unflinching wolfish gold. By the moon goddess's name, Lucian, what's your problem, and why are you here? My problem is with that male. He looked at me from head to toe, as if checking what's changed. Who is he, Vesta? Alpha Lucian demanded, shaking both of my shoulders. I winced at the tightness of his grip, feeling his claws just one breath away from tearing from his control and stabbing through my skin. Let go, Lucian. I summoned my wolf's strength. But as an omega, we were no match against an alpha. My wolf retreated. Let go. You're fucking hurting me. You re-hurting me. His fangs were now on full display, his wolf's eyes glowing brighter now that I'm a heartbeat away from his face. He was still baring his teeth in a low growl when he released me. Who is he, Vesta Blake? Francis, I replied flatly. Who is Francis? I relaxed the shoulders he just gripped. Francis is none of your business. We're over, Lucian. Move on. Go away and go home. I turned to head to my apartment, my body aching the need to stretch, and breathed in the lulling scent of my bed. Alpha Lucian stepped on my path, easily blocking me with his swift movement. I never agreed to that, did I? A relationship involves two people, Vesta, and a breakup requires two agreeing people too. I swallowed. You agreed the moment you chose Charmaine over me. He massaged his forehead. Oh, so this is what we're talking about again. You're absolutely right, Alpha. I dug my feet on the concrete ground. And did you bother getting my permission when you ignored most of our dates and special occasions for that beta's daughter? Vesta, please let's not talk about this again for the last time. And what should we talk about, Lucian? That you've been dating me for 5 years while also taking Charmaine to dates. Just admit that Charm is your morning girlfriend, while I'm your evening lover prefer sus cubithers, and as in sisters kiss each her font of a camera and then post it to the pure to s, you're the one who should stop tation. The nearby cast windows rated mildly at the anger going out of my chest. What are you going to do now? Mate, use your absolute alpha command on me, summon your powers just to have me back, and then waste everything on me again because your poor alpha ass is busy wooing Charmaine. I met his game with my chin high and chest out, daring him. Fighting him. Fight or flight indeed. It wasn't that often, but whenever Lashan felt tired of our arguments and know he's guilty, he would resort to his absolute alpha command to force me to submission. To force me to stop, to force me to shut up. For a moment, Alpha Lucian bit his lip and looked away. It was a sign of guilt. You redone, right? I expelled a tired breath goodbye. Then I walked past him, brushing his shoulders. I was one step away on the elevator when Lucian caught my wrist before I could blink, holding me back, holding me close to him. I crashed on his powerfully built chest. I looked up at him and my stomach churned at his pleading eyes. VES, can we just? Lucian's phone buzzed, cutting through the heated situation I was currently into. He released my hand to answer it, and with our faces one heartbeat away from closing the distance, I couldn't help but see the caller's name on the screen. Charmaine. A snake smile blossomed at my lips. It seems your new girlfriend is now inquiring about your whereabouts. I tilted my head in a mocking challenge. Did you even ask permission from her that you going to pay your ex-girlfriend a late-night visit? Vesta, he murmured, his voice full of beseeching. I slipped out of his reach, making sure his hand doesn't touch mine again. Go on, answer it. We're not bound to each other anymore, remember? I continued to back away, watching him intently to make sure he didn't follow. There's no longer something between us. Our mating bond is as good as broken and rejected. But he remained rooted to where he was. I ignored his lingering bothersome presence and headed up to my apartment on the 7th floor. I made sure I double-triple locked the door before heading to the shower and let my body taste the warmth of a delicious chapter S after-work bath. I don't care if he camps in that parking lot until morning just so he can wait for me to come out. I didn't care how long he stayed there before finally leaving this place that is now my new home. I was drained for the day that I was too lazy to check my phone for another drama session. I plopped down in the middle of the bed and muttered a prayer to the moon goddess before drifting to sleep. I hope I dream of him, which I'm pretty sure I will, given that our encounter tonight is a nightmare dressed like a good night dream. My work on the next day became chaotic. Gone were the days of a perfect work streak. A newly hired nurse bumped me as I opened a door, spilling a dozen iced coffees all over me. My hair, my face, my white uniform, even my feet were all freezing and smelling like almond macchiato. His apologies were genuine even when he was stuttering, but I simply waved an idle hand off and told him to be careful next time. Even when it's me who should be careful. I know Lucien's late-night visit always has negative impact on my life, whether at work or in person. Well, now it seemed he managed to check both. Although it still flashed in my mind the raw sadness in his eyes, the pure guilt. What if he's really now accepting the truth that he's been the one at fault in our relationship? I shook my head. I should never think about him again. My lunch break came, and I heard two females gossiping behind me. I think they're dating, one said cheerfully. Nah, Charmaine is just clingy towards Alpha Lucien. They not dating, they haven't even confirmed it. Wasn't Alpha Lucien also like that with his previous girlfriend? The one who squealed earlier just flipped her hair. Whatever. Official or not, they're cute together. My eyes rolled, my mood turning sour, and my sandwich tastes like ash in my mouth at the gossip I just heard. It seems as long as I'm in the Bright Heart pack, I can really escape them after all. I have to accept that they are finally getting together, trust me. I think Charmaine and Alpha Lucien are more sweet and cute than when Charmaine was dating Beta Thomas. My heart skipped a beat at that last sentence. Isn't that just a rumor? I pretended I was busy with my phone, when in reality, I was waiting for the other girl's reply. It's a secret. My brother is one of Beta Thomas's bodyguards. He told me Charmaine and the Beta often spend time dating in private restaurants and hotels. I stood. I have heard enough. The two girls' gossips faded to a whisper, then to nothing as I left the cafeteria, unable to finish my sandwich, so I just kept it for later. My hunch is true. There's something sort of a love triangle between the three, and Charmaine might have broken up with Thomas because Alpha Lucien is more of a big shot. Charm really thinks like a gold digger, always go for the gold and just set aside the silver. Beta Thomas, the cheerful, carefree, and easygoing. Charmaine is the silent type of girl who's always straightforward and observing everyone else. Complete opposites. Though I wonder if Alpha Lucien knew about them, cause my ex-boyfriend never mentioned that there was something between the two. The incident at the Star Moon restaurant flashed in my mind, how Beta Thomas easily stepped in front of Charmaine and shields her. It seemed those three close at heart best friends are harboring secrets of their own. Whatever it is, I'm glad I'm now gone from their toxic little circle. As if my thoughts conjured him, Beta Thomas called me when I was just grabbing. Why are you calling, Beta? Your responsibility now includes seeing how the Alpha's ex-girlfriend is doing after a breakup too. There was a brief silence. No cheerfulness nor a jolly voice shattered my ears. Vesta, it's Lucien, he whispered. Please, come see him now. I snorted. So now he's using you as a messenger when he can't even force me to face him in my apartment's parking lot. Cool. Vesta, he's in the hospital right now. Thomas trailed off, his voice barely above a whisper. I shrugged. So what does it have to do with me now? He was rushed to the hospital just this 3 in the morning. He vomited and collapsed. Vesta, he won't rest or eat or even take a break. Charm and I both tried to get through him, but he never listened. Our efforts, nothing worked. Amusement died in my eyes. My shoulders slackened. I inhaled a deep breath and I let Thomas hear it. Sounds like it's not my problem. I was about to put down the phone when I looked up and realized Beta Thomas is just across from me in the hallway. He was here, physically here. Shock surged through my veins. I was frozen as he approached, my mouth gaping like a fish out of water. But the Beta didn't just stand before me, he knelt down as he squeezed my hand. He looked like a knight swearing allegiance to his new queen. Please, VES. I think you're the only one he listens to. You the one he needs the most right now. But I just hissed at the Beta. Thomas, get up from there. I glanced around, realizing that people who just had their lunch were now walking past us. Panic made me push him to the interior of an empty pantry. Are you crazy? I'm working here, please stop bothering me, okay? If Lou is sick, then he probably just needs to be taken care of by the two people he loved the most. Those are you and Charmaine. I turned away from him as I added, I was never important to him, and I know that. Vesta, he's getting worse each hour. He could VE died. He blurted, and both of our eyes widened. Let me remind you, Beta Thomas, that I no longer have obligations with him since I already severed our bond. Can't you see? I waved my hand around. I'm not fit to be a lamna. A lowly she-wolf like me deserves to just work and study and then work again. I could never lead a pack. Tears rolled down my cheeks. Beta Thomas flinched. He is obviously guilty, as it is what he said during that incident in the Star Moon restaurant. I'm sorry for what I said back then. I didn't really think that Lucien was that serious about you. But after you broke up with him, I saw how much your words and actions caused him to break down. He genuinely loves you with all his heart. Stop, I commanded firmly, a wicked laugh almost making out of my lips. I'm not going to believe any lies from both of you. All three of you are masters of manipulation. Silence stretched between us, his gaze lowering to the floor. I don't know if all of this is true, or just part of their scheming. The Alpha beat me up after the Star Moon restaurant incident. He figured out that it was my careless mouth that made you see red. So now he's blindly confessing to me. I studied the Beta's exquisite face. I knew there was something wrong. Those faint bruises weren't just eyeshadows. Those were the evidence that the Alpha could really beat any of his betas if he's pissed off. Even if it's his best friend. You like Charmaine, Don Tu, Chapter 10. Beta Thomas dragged his gaze up to me. You knew. Oh, it was very obvious. I exclaimed. You were the one trying to break me up with Lucien so that you can make Charm happy, didn't you? I laughed when he muttered something under his breath. You know. It seems we read just the same after all, Beta. We always pour our hearts out at the wrong people. Vesta, I held out a hand, my laugh becoming less mocking and more real. I wiped away those tears that blurred my sight. I'm so sorry for you, Tom. But you don't need to make it up to me. Your confession is enough to complete my day. Why? He asked with those innocent eyes, still oblivious to what I'm feeling. That you yourself confirmed that Alpha Lucien had always prioritized Charmaine more than me, hence why Charm is also entertaining the Alpha with wide open arms. Perhaps with wide open legs too. I chuckled hysterically at the last words I just spat. Now I know. Now it made me breathe comfortably even more. Good luck in convincing the Alpha to rest and eat. Oh, and don't forget that the Pack's mating moon celebration is coming. The Alpha must not miss to congratulate all those who just had their mating ceremony in the Brightheart Pack. It's a must to attend. Days passed and my week ended, only for it to start again. And then Friday came again without giving warning, as if my days of overworking no longer tell me what day it was. My weekends were brief. I spent it reading books, strolling through malls while avoiding the couples who were so publicly displaying their affection, drinking coffees and milkshakes, and having dinner with colleagues. I was just fixing my hair as I strode in the restroom when a cold hand caressed my hair. Vesta. One pivoted and I was met with a wall of such a thin body and bland scent. Alpha Lucien. I brought a hand to my mouth. He's so thin and sickly and pale. I almost thought he's a walking skeleton, and the rumors of this building being haunted is true. What happened to you? It seems Alpha Lucien is the particular ghost who likes to haunt and scare me. He ignored my question and tried to stroke me cheek with his cold and pale thumb. I need to talk to you. I jerked my face away from his reach. How did you get inside the building? Through the door, of course. No amusement shone in his eyes. His voice was so soft and lifeless, as if he's just patiently waiting for the moon goddess to take his life. Vesta, you here again no matter how I turned you down. Looking at him, it seems I can't even hear him breathe. His scent is he doesn't have a scent either. He's using a scent mask. I chuckled to myself, that's probably the reason why even the guards didn't detect him. No sound, no scent. So this is how desperate you are, then. Sometimes, I'd like to think that he's been neglecting his duty as the Alpha every time he sneaks up on me. Just like now. I was just about to go home, I said as a matter of fact as I tied my hair in a ponytail. I know. The whistling wind outside could have been louder than his voice. Not feeling the need to talk to him, I just pretended to fix my upper clothes and then do my makeup to the point I redo my hair. Again in a braid just to avoid talking with him. He didn't reprimand me all the while. He just stood there, watching me, breathing in the sight of me. I was so invested in the new job Francis assigned me, which is me now being a part of the emergency room, that I didn't notice the world outside already gone from late dusk to early night. I was so busy thinking about work that I didn't notice my ex-boyfriend had come to make my night sleepless again. What is it this time? I finally asked. I didn't bother to try to be nice even with lingering unease that shrouded us. I want to have a proper talk with you. He paused for a moment as if to wait to let those words sink in my mind first before adding, will you come with me tonight? His fragileness made me think of him. Between ridiculous and spooky. What do you think my answer will be? I crossed my arms. At first, I wanted to just shove him away like those times he visited me. Yet something about his current appearance made me rethink my decision. Moonlight leaked in the restroom from the slightly gaping windows, bathing Lucien's form in a more eerie ghostly glow. Maybe it was the acceptance of defeat I saw in his eyes or the softness of his broken voice. Perhaps both. Okay, I'll come with you. I don't have anything interesting to do tomorrow anyway, so I'll probably sleep my ass after tonight. My response was like a bright sun that poured in his eyes. Thank you. He held both of my shoulders, his short-lived smile was more eerie than genuine. His yellow teeth make me realize he's really been neglecting his alpha duties and himself. I picked up my bag and fell to a step beside him as we exited the restroom. Where are we going? You'll soon know, Lucien answered with a smirk, the only other expression I saw him tonight aside from being almost like a ghost. I'm taking you somewhere quiet. Somewhere sacred. I swallowed. Star Moon Restaurant is not quiet. His villa, it's quiet but not sacred. The penthouse. It's neither. I strode into his much smaller and less expensive car, as if his taste in things also vanished along with his lack of interest in living further. The drive to wherever we were going was spent by me silently thinking and ticking off the list of our possible destinations. Minutes later, I gave up and just leaned in the car seat, handing whatever my fate tonight to the moon goddess. The tensity of the ride lightened when the car entered a familiar place. Their glowing trunks in the night seemed as if they came down from the moon, and they grew up into this breathtaking sight to give light to whoever visited it. The Moonstone Grove. After about half an hour, Alpha Lucien turned onto a narrow, almost hidden path, leading us up a mountain to the less visited part of the grove. This spot was renowned for its mystical ancient trees, glowing with the presence of the moon in the night. The moonlight was different here, something more sacred, more beckoning. We got out of the car and I watched Lucien keep up with my slow steps, breathing in the scent of the place and feeling the cool breeze whipping my hair. I can't remember the last time I visited here. Probably it was when I was still with my parents. Oh, it was the time I was praying hard that I'll be accepted in the PAC's prestigious college. And I was accepted. Now I just hoped I didn't get accepted, because that was also where I met the male now walking beside me. As we walked deeper in the innermost part of the sacred trees, the ambience began to shift. Stronger, fiercer, pulling us into its heart. Finally, we reached a massive tree that seemed to be the beating heart of the Moonstone Grove. It's taller and bigger than any of the trees, its bark is pure white and glowing. Its lavender leaves bristling with the wind, the sound like a wind chime made from pure silver. This place is magical. And then I saw the pond. Not just any pond. The pond beneath the tree mirrored its shimmering image. I squealed in delight, unable to hide my awe. You like it? He asked, his voice rasped and hesitant. Worry leached the beauty of his face under the blissful light of the sacred tree. He seemed not himself. My eyes darted back to the pond. A pond of moonlight. Like liquid moonlight, its iridescent colors were striking and ethereal. Glowing fireflies start to come out and spread on the trees like little stars flying all around. Mel, why, Lucien? Why bring me here? I started the conversation, cause I knew he wouldn't dare. I want to say I'm sorry. And he sighed as he looked at the pool. I was hoping for our bond that perhaps I still have a second chance. The pond glowed brighter, the trees too. You mean a third chance? I breathed. He took one step behind me. I know this, my apology is perhaps not enough. True, it felt hollow. Lacking. It was too late. I want us to have a late anniversary date because I missed the last time we should have had ours. I remained silent, letting the place gobble up any shadows looming between us. We walked the Moonstone Grove for half an hour, marveling at each sight, at the pond, at the fireflies, at the trees and the moon. There was a little temple not so far from the heart of the grove. Lucien and I found ourselves sitting in one of its marble stairs. I turned to him, his hair falling on his forehead. I think you can apologize all you want, Alpha. But our bond is like a glass. Once shattered, no matter how you try to patch it up again with the remaining shards, it's already been broken. And it's not a sight to behold. Both of us fell into the quietude, like a lingering monster devouring our words with each heartbeat passing. I drew in a shaking breath, feeling the weight of my next words bursting out of my heart. Did you ever truly love me? He blinked, his only sign of reaction to my raw question. Even for once, did you ever truly consider me as someone you love? Someone you're equal? He didn't answer a few seconds after, then after a minute. His reaction, his answer, was like a gun to my already bleeding heart. He was just silent, eyes distant. The unspoken emotions of his face became the truth to his sweet lies. He has no intention in answering my quest. Ione was right. I was the only one who's been in love. I was just a trophy for him, an accessory to parade, so he can mask his feelings towards charm as nothing but friendly love because he already has me, his girlfriend. When in reality, Thomas confirmed it himself. Charmaine and Lucien, both of them have secret feelings for each other. It's not a love triangle after all, since I am included. It's a love square. Let's not force ourselves, Alpha. I bowed slightly to him. Even the most silent and sacred place in all the Brightheart pack wasn't enough to close the gap between us. Thank you for bringing me here. I was about to stand when he grabbed my hand. I told you, Charmaine is just like a sister. I don't care if they say that she has feelings for me. I only saw her as a friend. So he knew that Charm was interested in him. Is that so? The words were bright with sadness, not anger. She's always your top priority, Lou. Whenever Charm has a problem, you rush to her side without a word. When I ask you to be with me, you always check your schedule first rather than making me a part of your schedule. I might have sobbed now, but I didn't care. I was hurt when you forgot our anniversary date, but that's not what disappointed me. I shook my head in a hopeless and helpless manner. You keep choosing her over and over again. I'm not even a choice to you. What's the point of us living together in your penthouse when your heart and mind are not there with me? We see each other every day, but it feels like a complete joke. I paused as I stepped down the stairs once and stared at him. I am a complete joke. He tore his eyes from the ground and looked up to me. I held his gaze, letting my unfeigned anger claw beyond his eyes. The mesmerizing scenery around us was not the perfect place for apologies and saying goodbyes. The beauty of this place is a stark contrast to the storm of sorrows swirling within me. I scoffed. We both knew what's our truth, Lucien. So let's keep it at that. I didn't face him when I said goodbye. As I walked away, the picturesque place behind me watched my every step, as if the trees mourned the love I lost too. My tears cascaded from my hold and I let them. Alpha Lucien didn't run after me. He didn't insist. He didn't even answer my question. There was no chance or hope of us being together again, no matter how many apologies or visiting a sacred grove we made. A heart can only be broken once. I hope. I didn't bother healing myself after that night. I even cried secretly in the restroom where Lucien visited me after my work the next day. Days passed like hours and I didn't even notice it's the end of the month. The pack hospital's offering me a chance to work abroad. I swallowed, repeating Francis's words. This news, it's great. Yes, Blake, we are. A hospital there needs an assistant director, and I couldn't think of anyone else to send other than you, Francis declared. His warm smile is always a delicious coffee to my lazy days. We thought it might help in your road to healing yourself after after you and Alpha Lucien. I heard the Foghounds pack boasts a lot of perfect places to have a vacation. Yes, he said, consider it as both a work and a vacation. Don't worry, your workload there is lighter so that you can also focus on learning the ways of being an assistant director of a pack hospital. You will still attend weekly classes since being a pack healer is a never-ending cycle of learning and applying. Excitement bathed me like a cold morning shower on a winter weekend. Hard work really pays off. I've been really impressed with your recent performance. You did not only work twice harder since we hired you, you also did not let your breakup distract your work, he continued, propping his chin with his entwined hands. Most would drown their post-breakup in crying and drinking. Others will not even show up at work for days, even weeks. I didn't think twice about putting your name forward as my primary candidate in the meeting with other healers yesterday. I clapped my hands and threw my arms around his neck. Thank you, Francis. You accept? His eyes darkened to worry. I know why he asked that. Of course I do. I maintained my cheerfulness. If it was the past me, I would have hesitated. Now that I no longer have a burden to worry, I jumped right to the opportunity. It's really nice to be back being single after all. I'm taking the offer, Francis. You know that. I nudged him in the elbow. There's no way I'm letting such an amazing opportunity just pass me by. My confidence was glowing. My health might not be that glowing thanks to my consistent amount of crying since I sighed. I'm not going to cry over him again. True to my words, a tear fell from my eye. Francis saw it. Tears of joy. I cheerfully told him. I convinced myself it was. Lucien is no longer my problem. He's already Charm's dilemma. All right then. You'll be flying to the Foghounds pack 2 weeks from now. Finally, in 2 weeks, I can finally start a new life away from the Brightheart pack, away from the drama, and most especially, away from Alpha Lucien. I came knocking in my parents' house unexpectedly, holding a bottle of wine as they opened the door. What I'm about to tell them is worth the celebration. As I expected, they supported my choice to pursue work abroadia. I don't object to you going, VES, but should talk it over with the Alpha, my mom advised as she cut her steak in half. Never make a decision you'll regret after. I told you many times, Mom. We've already broken up. I've been single for almost 2 or 3 months now, I can't remember. I thought those were just rumors. My dad arched his brow. Did he cheat on you? Did you open up first about breaking up, or did he dump you first? Tell me, Vesta. Dad, calm down. I urged him to not break the plate of roasted chicken in half. You too, Mom. Both of you, relax. I was the one who ended the relationship first, because he loved someone else. I shook my head and just pursed my lips together. I don't see him as a husband. Yes, we're mates, but I don't see a future for us. Besides, he has other priorities like the Brightheart pack. I almost reveal that Charmaine, the oldest and richest Beta's daughter, is his priority. That's nonsense. Mom tossed Father a look that only both of them knew. Your father and I have only had our mating bond snapped after our marriage and found out I'm pregnant with you. Your mother is right, Ves. Dad pressed on. Talk to Lucien. Perhaps he didn't fully acknowledge your breakup yet. Perhaps you just broke up with him in a whine. It's not too late yet. Memories from my college drifted before me, how I relentlessly pursued Lucien because of love at first sight, how I even asked my mother on how to win him over. But those are just memories now, and I become another person with Alpha Lucien. I didn't really become comfortable being me as Vesta Blake only around him. Instead, I became Vesta Blake, the alpha of the Brightheart pack's girlfriend for him. I'm done with him, Mom. Dad. He's just a part of my past now, nothing more. I made myself busy on my own plate of steak and fries, meals that we rarely eat only when we were celebrating. It looks like we were more celebrating my breakup with Lucien rather than my promotion in working abroad. Then we can't do anything but support you, Ves. My dad squeezed my hand. He's always the doting one. At least our family now has an official pack healer and an assistant director to a pack hospital. Mom cheered. Your father and I may be just omegas living in a simple cozy home, but we have each other. Mom squeezed Dad's other hand. We love you, Vesta. You knew that. I know. I wish Lucien and I had the love my father and mother shared. But Moon Goddess, all I can do is only wish and hope, nothing more. Lucien will never be that someone who will love me unconditionally, and I have long accepted it. Dinner eventually came to an end after a couple of chit-chats and gossips from my dad. He's more talented in that field, I mused. I strode to my old room. The lavender and white wallpaper remained intact as if I had never left this place. When I opened my laptop and logged in my social media account to do some research about the Foghounds pack, hundreds of notifications bombarded my inbox. It's been a long time since I left social media. I had expected some messages from random people after my breakup, but not almost 1,000 of them. With bewildered eyes and trembling fingers, I clicked on the notifications and quickly realized why the messages were brimming with it. I'd been tagged in a post by Alpha Lucien, particularly his official team in charge of announcements. My phone rang and I almost fell from my chair. Francis. I scowled at his very late-night text message. Vesta Blake, check the video the Alpha has posted. Update me with your decision to work abroad as soon as possible, more conveniently by tomorrow. My world came crumbling down when I saw Alpha Lucien posting a video on his official account 2 hours ago. Did he know about my promotion abroad? Shit. That's why he did this and made my life more difficult by deciding between him and my work. Though I already knew which one I will stay loyal to, my work. But curiosity got the worst of me and I decided to watch the video, the announcement he posted. In his formal black suit and red tie bearing the insignia of the Brightheart pack, he spoke in front of the camera with a solemn expression. Charmaine is not my girlfriend. She never has been. We've known each other since we were young, but she's only like a sister to me. He paused as he looked down and held onto his tuxedo. He looked up again, this time with a more calculated expression, like the face an Alpha wore before engaging in a battlefield. Please avoid spreading false news and such outright malicious rumors. Such comments are not only uncomfortable for Charmaine, but also distressing for my girlfriend and future wife and Luna, Vesta Blake. Your remarks may cause unexpected harm to both of them. In fact, it already has. I immediately stopped the video. I hope my parents don't see them, though I am confident they won't. They rarely were active in any forms of social media. They prefer to talk face to face and engage physically. After watching the video, my decision became more questioning. Overwhelmed was the right term. I felt like I'd be guilty if I left abroad at the very time the Alpha had declared that I still belonged to him. That I was still his girlfriend. Is this part of his games? Is this another method of his scheming to manipulate me and win me back? My phone rang again, this time an incoming call displayed on the screen. Francis. It's almost midnight. Vesta, where are you? Francis seemed to be panting, extremely worried. I never heard in my life that he addressed me by my first name. Are you all right? Did anyone follow you home? Are you safe, Francis? Why are you asking me this? A small hint of irritation echoed in my voice. I'm safe, I'm in my parents' house. I don't know if he's angry or worried or scared. Perhaps all of the above. I am fine, I repeated. Oh, thank the moon goddess, he blurted, and I could see him putting a hand on his chest in relief. I told you this morning, Francis. Nothing on earth can change my decision. I'm still working abroad. The alpha he doesn't own me, nor I'm still his girlfriend. He's just hesitant to admit that he's single now, probably to refrain from chaos from his fanatics. Silence howled on the other end of the line, then a tight sigh. All right, Francis said, his tone softening. I'll post a note in case anyone brings this up tomorrow. Stay safe, Vesta Blake. Thank you, I chirped politely before ending the call. I plopped down my bed with my body feeling heavier than my head and heart. I sat in silence, letting the news sink in. Fuck you, Lucien. I hissed, perhaps I said it in more of a shriek, as I threw a pillow on the wall, knocking down a picture frame of me in my early days in college. He really does only think of himself. He doesn't think about the fact when he posted that video if it can affect my work or me personally. He just does what he thinks is right for him, such as publicly declaring that I'm still with him even when we already done 3 months ago. Another notification chimed in, this time it's my number for work. Only my work colleagues and boss knew of this number. I hope it's not who I think it is. Summoning the remaining courage I have for the day, I opened the message. There, a video thumbnail appeared on my screen with Lucien still in his intimidating attire. My thumb took a minute before it finally pressed the play button. Looking directly into the camera, as if he's looking in my eyes, he mastered the face of someone close to slitting their throat just to beg. Vesta, if you truly don't want Charmaine in our lives, then I'll do my best to stay away from her, I groaned. If he really had an intention of doing that, he could have done that long ago. You re the one I love. It's always been you. Then the video ended with those words. I could have vomited here and now if I wasn't in my bed. Whatever. Lucien might be stubborn, but I'm even more stubborn. I sighed with all the thoughts swarming in my mind. If he really has an intention of reconciling with me, he should have sent this weeks ago. Probably in the few weeks after we broke up. I might have convinced the deeper part of me that still loves him to reconsider the breakup. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have long buried that part of me in that graveyard of my mind. His message came too late. I was already up by how he had treated me as only someone else when it comes to charm. Now he made that disappointment deeper as he jeopardized my opportunity and promotion abroad, all for his dramatic spectacle. A theatric publicity stunt. We're never ever getting back together, Alpha Lucien. I recorded my response with my unfiltered face and sent it to the unknown number. After delivering the message, I blocked the number without breaking a sweat. The 2 weeks came faster than I anticipated. Though Lucien still bothers me with his signature ways of delivering delicious food to my apartment or at the PAC hospital through the same butlers, I always send them away and tell them to eat it themselves. I ignored the praises and the jealousy of some because of those loving gestures of my ex-boyfriend. I stuck to the lunch and snacks I prepared myself. I dipped my head in greeting to the flight attendant as I boarded the plane, my luggage already safe in the check-in. My handbag and wolf stuffed toy were with me, however. The plane took off without difficulty. I looked beyond the window, drinking in the last sight of the Bright Heart Pack before I ventured to the new life awaiting for me. I looked at my seatmate and he's wearing some weird attire, a mask and a baseball cap. My eyes landed on his eyes, and my heart sank to my knees as I recognized those eyes. You. I spat, glaring at Lucien with all the anger in the world. I bared my teeth at him, letting my wolf's eyes and fangs shown that even the people sitting nearby flinched. Vesta, shut up and leave. He heaved a deep sigh. We re 30,000 feet in the air. So what? You re an Alpha Dawn you have powers to fly or control the air or something? I asked with a mocking incline of my head, the grin on my lips. Surprisingly, he's not like a ghost this time compared to when we were in Moonstone Grove. There's an unspeakable calm in his eyes, a lulling serenity in his voice. It looks like he has now moved on, but is still willing to chase after me. You re still craving for me, aren't you? I teased, poking his shoulder. Though his smile didn't reach his ears, his eyes glimmered with the light of the moon. Don't be afraid. I'm just escorting you. I snorted. I don't need a bodyguard. He shrugged a shoulder, an air of playfulness and arrogance swirling around him. You probably don't need one. But you want one. He glanced at me before jerking his chin forward. It's your first time outside the Bright Heart Pack. You need someone who knows the Foghounds Pack with all his heart. And I suppose it's you. I flashed my teeth at him. My mother is from there. She's the daughter of the Alpha there, so he's my grandfather. I blinked. He never told me about his parents nor his lineage. His sharp scent of cedar and the cool earthiness of pine made me wrinkled my nose. It wrapped me like some cool hug from the first day of snow. I found myself not flinching at his uninvited presence. I found myself relaxing, the tension slowly melting away like how the first day of spring thaws all those ice and snow. My mind drifted back to what happened in those 2 weeks. The food he constantly instructed to be delivered were always the ones I love. Since there are times I cannot turn them away because he made sure of that, I gave them to my colleagues who were gawking at every delivery that came to my office. They didn't think twice to accept the meals themselves and ate them with all their gossiping mouths. At least in that way, I've shown my kindness and extended the generosity of our beloved Alpha to those in need. I chuckled at my own thoughts that Madame's seatmate bunched his brows. What are you laughing about, Vesta? You. I laughed again when he frowns. Lucien was completely oblivious to what I'm even referring or thinking. Alpha Lucien's stubbornness and persistence worsened for the past weeks. He managed to insert himself in unexpected ways. Even in this new life I was about to start, he still inserted himself beside my airplane seat. Maybe there's a reason why fate never wants us separated from each other. Why are you really here, Lucien? He just shrugged, his demeanor earlier misting away. And in his silence, I comprehend the thousand of unspoken truths that stretched far and wide. His answer was the same as when I asked him if he really loves me. Perhaps his silence was an answer enough. Silence means yes, as they say. Or perhaps it should have meant yes. I looked away, turning my attention to the window as the silence went on and on. It was thick and heavy, like how his scent is. Just when I was about to sleep for the duration of the flight, he broke the silence with a soft, "I'm sorry." For what? I blinked in surprise. He turned to face me, the motion so casual and swift. Since I was a child, my father always told me to take care of Charmaine. He started, placing his hands atop his lap. Decades ago, my father held a ball attended by several alphas and their respective lunas for a social gathering. I straightened. I had never heard of that story before. Lucien continued, drinks were served, of course. And the richest alpha was the alpha of the Mistborn pack. He's so drunk that he collided with my father and thought he was being attacked by my father. Lucien sighed. Charmaine's father, Beta Vincent, the always persuasive and intoxicating one, was there. The entire Brightheart pack and Mistborn pack were gathered in that hallway when Charmaine's father declared that my father was only helping the alpha of the Mistborn pack to not trip and fell off the stairs because of his drunkenness. I gasped, but my hand shot right to my mouth. Alpha Lucien toyed with the keychain of my handbag. As there were no other witnesses, my father pointed at the security cameras, and indeed, my father just seemed to help him even when it was truly an accident that they bumped into each other. A war was prevented that night. In their way of gratitude, the Mistborn pack invested in the Brightheart pack, and our economy is as booming as theirs now thanks to them. Wow, I managed to say just above a whisper. As I grew up, I was constantly reminded of this. My father would say, we owe them our lives and our pack, and he made it clear that I should always be there for Charmaine and Charmaine's father to support them in any way I could. You were pressured to impress Charm's father by constantly being around her. He gave me a tight nod. His father is a savior to the pack. The Brightheart pack would have been dissolved by now had it not been for him. But you never answered my question though. He smiled as if he knew which question I was referring to. The video I sent you personally is my answer. I might not be brave enough to voice it out during our time in the Moonstone Grove, but now it's my only answer. Lucien's eyes locked onto mine, his expression more serious than ever. I handed my alpha title to Charmaine's father temporarily. He deserved it. You did why? Because I want to heal to repair what was once between us first. How can I be an effective alpha when I can't even mend a relationship to one of the subjects I love? He didn't really. He gave up his alpha title just so he can be with me. Even if it's temporary, it's still so he's the acting alpha as of the moment, he added as if to answer my question. That's why, Vesta. Believe me, Charmaine was never my first choice, not then, not now, and not in the future. You are my priority. I was just inserting charm between our schedules. I shook my head. We can't fix what's broken already, Lucien. As I have said before, our bond is like a glass. Once broken, there's no mending it back, even with the shards scattered all over the floor. I know and understand that, Vesta. His eyes smiled at me. He placed his hand atop mine. I'm just here for you, not as Alpha Lucien, but as Lucien your friend. Something cracked within me at the genuine words he offered. Friend. Not as Alpha Lucien, but as Lucien my friend. And one moment we back to being college again. That's exactly how I approached him. Now he's using my own techniques to win me. I punched away that lingering thoughts and leaned forward. Well, welcome aboard, friend. The flight will probably be a bit awkward, but having a friend on board was one thing I couldn't ask for more. It was midnight when we landed at the Foghounds Pack's airport. He fell silent until we were stepping down from the airplane. The story he told me was still echoing deep in my bones. I moved quickly as soon as we landed, though I'm sure Lucien was just following behind. Despite my initial suspicion whether I should listen to the story he told me or not, there was something in Lucien that never gives up just so he can protect his pack. Just so he can protect the ones he loves. His story is a testament itself to the courage and willingness to sacrifice that he inherited from his father just so he can hold the pack together as an alpha. There was a fierce bite of the truth he offered me, the truth he revealed to me. Perhaps I was too possessive, too childish, to see the efforts that he's being my boyfriend at the same time being there for Charmaine, at the same time being the alpha of the Brightheart pack. Was it my fault for our relationship being wasted into nothing? Was it my overreaction to Charmaine's actions that caused me our relationship of more than 5 years that we built with our bare hands and open hearts? Maybe Lucien was never the manipulative one. Maybe it was me who's just telling myself that I'm being manipulated. I didn't doubt the truth of his story, nor did I think it was absurd and impossible. Lucien wouldn't go to great lengths just to impress a girl. Charmaine is a part of his pack responsibilities, and I was his girl. He was trying all his best for us to get back together. In fact, some things started to make sense now. I could see why my ex-boyfriend might have felt forced to prioritize Charmaine all for the approval of her father. But it's too late. For me. For him. For both of us. Friends? This time it was my turn to offer him a friendly hand. Friends. Then we had a pinky promise, like what we used to do during our college days. The Foghounds Pack's airport came to life with our arrival. I whipped my head to my friend. Thank you for sharing your story with me, Lucien. It must have been hard for you and your family. Your family. I hope you found yourself healing too. Though his face was partially hidden by a white mask and baseball cap again, I could see the sorrows lining his eyes at my straightforwardness. Vesta. It was final, Lou. My decision between us, I forced myself to let a smile plastered on my face. Let's just move on. There was no going back, no matter what he said or did. It was just too late. I'm now on my way to start a new life. I wouldn't bring him with me. Yes, I accepted him as a friend because of what we'd once been to each other before we were a couple. I still respect him in some way. He's my alpha, the leader of our pack. It's my duty to pay respects to my alpha. I kept my eyes on Lucien for a few more minutes. He held my gaze too, until my eyes found my luggage, and I immediately sprinted towards it. Let me help you, he offered, but he was already hauling it from the baggage claim even before I could answer. Good luck wherever you heading, Lucien. He wanted to say more. His eyes signaled to me that he wanted to stay with me a bit longer. But my new life starts tomorrow. Good luck, Vesta. Then he was gone. The crowd was overwhelming. The airport was more so. It was a labyrinth of turns and open hallways that seemed to stretch on and on. 10 minutes later, more passengers are pouring into the airport from various packs. I can't seem to find my way. I can't even find the exit. The information desk and the security guards are busy accommodating other passengers. The clock chimed to 1 in the morning and my head began pounding. I haven't had a proper sleep since the day before yesterday because of preparations. The airport was larger than I expected, bigger than Francis described it to be. I soon found myself lost in a sea of crowds. I pretended I wasn't, but in reality, my palms are already sweating and I already dropped my phone several times because of my anxious, sweaty hands. This was my first flight, my first international trip outside the Brightheart pack. The fact that I'm traveling alone and the fact that I barely knew this place only added to the nausea churning in my stomach. I glanced around, trying to make sense of Francis' instructions. Find the green sign that says exit just after you turn right from the baggage claim. I've already turned many rights and looked for many exits. All I see is just people pouring in, and I was just walking in a circle. Vesta. Lucien's voice was like a shooting star cutting through the chaotic noise. Need help, friend. He was now holding 2 paper bags of fast food and bottled soda. Walking with that predatory grace of his, he found himself in front of me, stopping just before our lips met. We instantly became the center of attention, his scent drawing in the eyes of some passengers. Not to mention his handsomeness and charisma not only made some airport vendors blush, it also made my heart throb so loud as I fought the urge to either run away from him or run towards him. He was panting slightly and took a few moments to speak. Let me guide you to the exit. There are cabs already waiting there. I know my way around here very much. Mumai, I don't want anything to do with him again. But perhaps I should set aside pride and my hatred for the time being and accept the help from an old friend. I nodded repeatedly, despair fogging my eyes. Yes, please. Lucy, and my stomach gurgled as soon as we settled ourselves in the back seat of a driving taxi. Here, he offered me a burger. I muttered a simple thanks beneath my panting breath. True to what Lucian promised me, he guided me to the exit, not thinking twice to reach for my hand and hold it tightly as we slither through the crowd and into the midnight air outside, the open space already buzzing with cabs driving away and cabs arriving to pick up passengers. How long will you be staying here? Lucian casually asked, but I know he's been monitoring my every move. I took a quick bite of the burger as big as my face. 2.5 years at most. Maybe 3 years. He fell silent after that. I just finished MYT 95 burger meal, and then the fries, and then the Coke float he brought for me. Are you sure you're not going to eat? I asked as I sipped the drink. I bought them for you. He eyed the trash that were the only things left from the fast food takeout. I knew you'd easily get hungry when you re-traveling. He still cares for me like we're still. I shook my head. We're no longer a couple. You don't need to do that. Says you after devouring a whole burger meal. We both chuckled. Where will you be dropping off? I'll escort you to your apartment first. I might have pushed him away earlier when he waved down for a taxi and immediately found his place on the back seat. There's no point in glaring at him to get out. He still won. Listen to me. Why are you escorting me? I gasped. Did Francis send you to be my escort? Lucian met my gaze calmly. You unfamiliar with this place. The Alpha is my grandfather, so you'll need my help anyway. Let me drop you in your apartment as a friend. You'll leave me alone after that. To be honest, I'm becoming awkward with his presence. It's weird to be still hanging out with your ex-boyfriend when you've already broken up for months. Looking at Lucian, I can't help but grimace as he said, I'll leave you alone after I make sure you're safe. I let him walk me to the front door of my apartment. Lucian knew exactly how to play with my fears, how to heighten my emotions with the simple mention of frauds and thieves. Reluctantly, albeit a part of me relaxed at his presence, I let him come with me. My expression was void of casual emotions. Throughout the taxi ride after our final conversation, the apartment Francis chose for me was simple and cozy. A studio unit just the right size for someone living alone and spending most of her time on work. Lucian narrowed his eyes as he scanned every corner like some sniffing dog. Done checking. I barked. Lucian plopped down the bed, wobbling it as if to check the mattress itself. VES, you really need to be careful around here. You on your own now. Just call me if ever something feels wrong. You won't be back to the Brightheart pack right away. He clicked his tongue as he checked under my bed. My grandfather gave me a job here for the meantime. Something I can be busy with while he waved a hand to himself while I heal. He's the reason why I left. Now I massaged my forehead. Now he followed me here. I've already set aside my pride and hatred for more than an hour. I wouldn't keep it at bay far longer. Lucian, I've been living alone in my apartment for years, even before I met you. Honestly, you're the biggest danger and threat in this room right now. I stomped my foot. So please leave. Hurt flashed across his features. Vesta. Now. I gave thanks to the moon goddess when he finally leave my new apartment. 5 seconds later the Foghounds pack let me feel like I am still at home. They're sweet, polite, thoughtful and caring. During my first month, I focused on adjusting to the workplace's demands of being the Foghounds Pack's hospital's assistant director, at the same time learning advanced medicine and healing. Francis had emphasized the importance of socializing for the betterment of my future career, so I made an extra effort to do so. I made new friends, and there was even some male beta who kept throwing secret glances at me and placing a bouquet of flowers in my locker along with a sweet letter. Sometimes there's chocolates too. He was the son of the Pack Hospital's director. He's cute and handsome, perhaps not too masculine or powerfully built like my alpha ex-boyfriend, but he was friendly enough, and I told him I'm content to being just a friend on weekends. I occasionally party with friends in local clubs in the main city and even share the meals I've cooked with my colleagues. Seeing I made my friends and colleagues happy, there was a sense of pride flamed within me, like I accomplished something by just going out of my comfort zone. But the feeling of being stalked every night I went home made me cautious. Anxious to the point I always held on to my pepper spray every time I walked from the road up to my apartment room. Tonight made it so much worse. I can see shadows moving at the corner of my eyes, lurking in the far corner like some ghostly cat. My heart pounded in my chest as I held onto my bag tightly, my pepper spray hidden beneath my fingers. With a shaking hand, I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. I turned my apartment's doorknob with my keys when something leaped towards me. I screamed like hell, like my life depended on it. Shit. I cursed under my breath, my phone's flashlight illuminating the squirrel. Why the fuck would there be a squirrel here? Oh, there were bushes just behind the building. Of course, there's a squirrel, and Moon Goddess knows what else had their lair in there. I stepped back. Another squirrel leaped on me, this time sending me out of balance. My room was next to the stairwell. Just when I braced myself for a hard fall to the floor below, I felt a rush of dark wind that landed on soft paws atop the stairwell. Are you okay, Vesta? My savior managed to catch me on time, his cedar and pine scent tingling my nose. I got out of the shelter of his arms and straightened myself. You've been stalking me, Lucien. Are you okay? His baritone voice asked again. You the one stalking me, Lucien. I answered his question with another question. Despite breaking up, he still keeps showing in unexpected places like a looming shadow always trailing behind me. I told you, you need me in the Foghounds. Pack's unfamiliar city. I've been here over a month. I flashed my fangs at him. I've been to a couple clubs and malls and restaurants already. I've been walking home alone on my own for a month, Lou. He lowered his gaze as he snuck his hands on his pockets, his voice dropping to a whisper. I only want to keep you safe. I only want what's the best for you, Vesta. When I saw him, the fear crippling my senses vanished. It's him who had been watching me all the time. You've been stalking me this whole time. It's not stalking when my intentions are good, Vesta. His hands shot to my blushing cheeks. I'm trying to protect you as a friend. You're far too defenseless because you in Omega VES. If only you did not break up with me, you would have been my Luna, and your wolf will have strength equal to mine. I blew out a cool breath, my tone uninterested in dealing with him further. Not all strength is physical, Lucien. Sometimes it's being able to be strong enough to watch the man you love prioritize another woman because of his pack responsibilities. He was quiet, but he didn't remove his eyes from mine. My eyes flew right to the scent mask he's holding like he recently removed it. Why are you wearing that if you not stalking me? What's with hiding your scent? The wind suddenly silenced as if it fled from Lucien's presence. Would you let me protect you from afar if you caught a hint of my scent? No, yes. I growled, opening my apartment's door in rage. Just please go away. Stop making my heart confused with your presence. I've already moved on, Lucien. So have I. He snarled with equal fury. I tried to forget you as a girlfriend and I did, but I still crave you after you rejected me and broke up with me and severed the bond between us. I'm going crazy for you, Vesta Blake. My wolf is going crazy if we don't see you even for a day. I retreated to my apartment but he held the door open. You sneaking around me and you almost sent me into a heart attack. He flinched as if just realizing the repercussions of his actions. From now on, I'll accompany you home at night. I don't want to be returning in the Bright Heart pack with your fresh corpse, do you? I hissed like a viper ready to strike. Plus, he held up a hand, amusement lacing his tone. I'm your neighbor, Vesta. Shouldn't you be nice to your neighbor? Aren't you making friends here in the Foghounds pack? I gripped the door tightly and slammed the door to his face. He only opened it with a kick. You damaging the property, you prick. I don't care, he chuckled like a maniac. I threw my hands up in defeat. I'm not in the mood to further argue. Without another word, I closed the apartment door gently and locked all of my furlocks. I made myself tea with honey. Opening the door to my balcony, I settled myself in one of the chairs and drank in the view of the city. Calm now. Lucien's voice flitted through the gap of our balconies. He definitely lives next door. He was shirtless, flaunting his muscles as he stretched, and did some push-ups in front of me. Leaned him and took one last sip before going inside my room, shutting out his odd presence and unflinching scent and the weird comfort he brings every time he was there. I heard my neighbor opening his door and then scanning the hallway like some wolf guarding its territory before striding back to his lair. Although frustrated by the revelation I unraveled, I washed it all off with a nice cool shower. Skak 95. I was drying my hair when an unknown number lit up my screen. It's impossible if it's from my parents or Francis. I bet it's from Lucien, or there's no one else who would be messaging me like that. Vesta, it's Charmaine. I read the first message. I rolled my eyes. What drama would this girl be stirring up again? I was entirely shocked that she had found my number but more surprised that she was reaching out to me at all. Charm hadn't contacted me since that incident at the Star Moon restaurant or when Lucien announced that she's not his girlfriend. Once again, curiosity killed the cat in me, and I opened her voicemail. Vesta Blake, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say this, but I'm sorry. I'm messaging you because I know I've caused more drama than our TV station has produced. She chuckled but then cleared her throat a heartbeat later. I have feelings for Lucien, yes. But it was foolish of me to belittle you just so I can have him. Another thing I was wrong is that he didn't love you. I was wrong, Lucien loved you all this time. Beta Thomas also confessed his love for me. Though at first it was difficult, I eventually accepted him. We're now celebrating our first month. Sorry. As for Lucien, he never sees me as a woman, he only sees me as a sister, nothing more. I don't care if I can also hear my loud heartbeats in my chest. I let her voicemail continue. He truly loves you. Vesta. I know this is selfish, but if there's still any part of you that cares for him, yearns for him, please forgive him. Please. For me. For Thomas. For the betterment of the Bright Heart Pack. I hope there's still a chance between the two of you. Please don't let me be the reason why your love just went to a waste. I was speechless when the voicemail ended. A flurry of emotions stormed within my heart. As I closed my eyes and let my tears stream down my face, I heard the faint tinkling of bells just outside my apartment door. I quickly went to open it and found Lucien standing there, holding a pair of small bells, tied to a rope hanging on my door frame. Here's a bracelet version of it. It'll be more convenient that way. There was warmth in his eyes I've never seen before. I accepted the silver charm as I looked up at the enchanted wind chime hovering above both of us. Moonlight entered the hallway from the bushes. The moon goddess has never left us after all. True to what Charmaine has said, there was still love swirling beneath his stubborn facade. As we stared at each other, I remembered the time our eyes met for the first time in college. We're feeling it now too. It's not impossible to fall in love again. I smiled at Lucien, the first I had since we first met during our college time. I never lost my love. I just need to find it for the second time with the same person at the right moment. Would you like to come inside, Lou? His smile was answer enough as I opened the door wide, welcoming him to my new life. The end.